Mike, I'm not going to do the intro unless you say that we're actually live and not doing your bullshit. No, I'm waiting. No.
This is his own fault.
No, I don't believe you.
None of us believe you.
No, I still don't believe you. I'm looking at my face on the live screen, but I still also apparently people can't hear you, and basically this is a disaster. I don't know what we expected, Michael, but we expected better.
Proof that we're live, coward.
1. Everyone can hear me live.
Fred McFuzzles is here, the Morello Man's here. Everyone was expecting you, Mike, and you didn't deliver, and I'm heartbroken that this has happened.
I mean, also, he's just counted down in a normal way, which means it's not real.
Yes. Can we know ever when we have truly started the stream? You see, this might look like we are being unnecessarily cruel to Mike, but before we tune in, Michael is always very cruel to us by doing a lot of false starts for counting down when the stream has started, seemingly to test us, like some sort of sadistic countdown man who has all the power and is like, I'm going to make people panic because I have the authority over when we go live. So this is a sort of very, very twisted counter-torture that I've decided to do, wherein I'm putting my hand cream on very delicately while I wait for a sign.
You can't pass this off as me not being clear enough. When you said, let's go live.
And then everyone said they weren't ready, and then you said, I'm going, and then you came back and said, 3, 2, 1, go! And then everybody panicked, and then you laughed.
Yes.
So yes, I am punishing you.
I don't feel guilt.
Well, then the punishment continues. How's everyone doing? What a lovely Tuesday it has been. I can't be bothered with this. Hi everyone, welcome to Star Trek Iskandar. I'm Brexit Sans, and I get easily bored even with my own bits.
Hi.
This is Roomba. Roomba's here. So is Kath. Michael isn't though. We must all ignore him as a continued punishment for his ill treatment.
Michael?
What? Yeah, there are only 3 of us.
Yeah, Mike, you've hurt us.
Who?
Hurt me. All I want, look, if I known I had time to go make a coffee, I'd have done it. But I was here as on time as I could be, and you've let me down. You've let everyone down. That being said, hi everyone, and welcome to the Adventures of the USS Iskandar in space. Yeah, this is episode 2. I don't know why I had to look at what episode it was. I know it's episode 2 of Star Trek Iskandar Down the Rabbit Hole, as GM'd for the first time by our very own Emily, who plays Lieutenant Strange and Kantos at given moments in time. Ghosts. So we're all here basically just chilling out, watching Roomba do some very exciting science plots, which basically involves her and Michael talking about science, and me and Kath going, space is pretty big.
Hey,
let's not make out that Mike is automatically...
You came up with most of the science last episode that if it was stuff that I didn't.
Look, I took advantage of the fact that I play the Doctor, who is always the character that can go, gravity? What do you mean?
I feel we need to stress that Mike is still in the, I mean, I'm not a humanities student, but it's social science, so it's not really science. So are in the not science, he's with us in the not science pile, while the engineer is, throwing science at us.
Look,
I'm not sorry, I may do it again.
I am a student of English literature. I don't know what you expect of me. Nevertheless, welcome everyone to this second episode. If you missed the last one, I'm sure Roomba will be happy to give you a breakdown of the nonsense that went on. But the whistle-stop tour is that we are down one chief engineer at the time that we really could use a chief engineer.
You don't need him.
Kath shattered my heart into a million billion pieces again. And
business as usual, really.
Business as usual, really. And I will, given any chance, quote some Wordsworth at the problem. So I look forward to it. But until then, I'm going to hand you over to our GM, Roomba. God, I'm really, really slow today, aren't I?
Which is probably appropriate given all the time dilation bullshit.
It's true. I slept all day yesterday. I don't know what time is anymore.
This is fine. Method acting. So yes, welcome everyone to part 2 of Down the Rabbit Hole. And contrary to what Izzy's saying, I'm not going to provide a breakdown of the previous episode.
Make a fucking liar of me.
Yeah, I'm going to make a liar of you. But before we do get started, I'm going to remind people to hold your damn trash bags. Helps and hinders are not in operation in this episode. So keep your trash to annoy one of the other 3 when they're GMing. I say annoy. It's not really annoying. We love you dearly, Aid Brigade and Hinder Kinder, but I don't love you enough to have you be part of this game, I'm afraid. Sorry. So, we will pick up where we left off last episode, the last session, and to provide us with a recap, something we've not had for a while, Kath, give us a captain's log.
Well, especially as I've just shut the door, not because the cat was being loud, but because all I could hear was a scream of "no" from my partner's study. So the cat's clearly doing bullshit, and it might not be here, but it's loud. Right. Captain's log, stardate 56247.83. Admiral Lukashenko has dispatched us on a survey mission to examine a gravitational anomaly some days away from Starbase 437. En route, we've received an incomprehensible communication originating from the anomaly itself. When we replayed it at least twice the speed, we identified it as a distress call from the USS Kruskal, a Starfleet ship lost 80 years ago. The anomaly shares attributes with a cluster of micro-black holes, and it is clearly affecting the surrounding area of spacetime. We believe the USS Kruskal may have been lost within the anomaly, the time dilation effect leading them to only experience approximately 16 days over 8 decades. We are bound to attempt a rescue mission. Particular calibrations of our warp field are theorized to keep us within a bubble of real space as we approach the Kruskal. The great risk, however, is not failure, but suffering the same fate as them.
Dun, dun, dun. So, last we saw of the Iskandar, had you started heading towards the space bubble?
We've got the operations ready for our warp field. We're going to essentially hit warp 0 point something.
0 point as low as you can go without stalling.
Yes. I do have warp core stalling. I love it, by the way. We have Dr. Burov preparing something for the possibility of a transference into real space causing time bends. I'm not sure where the fuck's going on with that, but I'm leaving the doctor to do their work. And is that it for our particular prepare work? Oh, we've dropped the beacon.
Yeah, there was a beacon that you guys left outside.
For like,
if you don't see us in a day's time,
we're
in here.
We're stuck. Please help us. This is what we've attempted. Be better than us.
Cool. So, the doctor prepared to deal with the time bends. You've got the beacon outside as a warning to others to not do the thing that you're about to do. And you've got your warp field set up to mitigate the results of the time dilation problem. In you go.
All right. All hands on deck on the bridge. We are set to yellow alert. Everyone has been given the very Starfleet orders of, put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye, because this could end real bad.
Standard procedure.
Standard procedure. This could end real bad. And let's go.
Cool. So, The Iskandar drifts forward as Kantos takes you forward at a steady, very low. It's the equivalent speed of going at about half impulse, but using the warp drive. So it's a bit shaky as you're going in because
Folks, it's shaky.
it's not that shaky. Calm down. It's just a little bumpy.
It's Star Trek. We've not even been shot at before.
We will get to that. It's
Good.
fine. Well, maybe not you being shot. I don't know. Depends what you do. But you drift forward, and this area, this sphere of distorted space grows larger on the view screen as you go up to it. And then you reach the surface itself of this distorted area. And you start to go in. It is a rough ride. Once you see, now you can do it. Yes. It is a rough ride as you're going through this outer surface. The ship is shaking and creaking and groaning. There are alarms starting to go off. No damage reported as of yet because you've been sensible and put your shields up. But the shields are deeply unhappy with what's going on as the pressure and the gravity pulls at the ship as you go through.
Redistributing power to the navigational deflectors, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah.
Yep, there'll be a constant steady burp, 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 burp going on in the background from various systems complaining about what is happening to them. And then the shaking stops.
Status report. Ship systems check.
I do a ship's system check.
Yep. Nothing is broken, but your shields are down to about 10-15%.
That's right.
So it could have been a lot worse, but if you didn't have the shields, then you'd have been ripped apart, probably, or buckled. Depends which way you went. But yes, no. A quick check for damage. Nothing's damaged. No reports of injuries.
All clear, Captain.
Scan the immediate area.
Boop.
Do me an ops check. Do me an ops check for your scan.
It's pretty good.
Cool. That makes things easy.
2, 3, 5.
That is a lot.
It's pretty good.
Very good. So, start with what you can see on visual, and to be honest, largely what you've picked up through sensors. It's very similar to what you've got on visual. So, you have come through this outer surface, and now that you're inside, it does look like it was an outer skin almost. It was this kind of sphere surrounding this area of space that you're now inside. So you can see light from distant stars all around now is showing that same kind of rippling water-like distortion that you saw before coming through the sphere from the outside. Towards the center, there's almost a kind of, you'd almost describe it as an inner core, an area that is also heavily distorted, clearly heavily affected by the black holes, the micro black holes in the area. Much smaller. It's it doesn't take up much of the space that you're in, but it is large enough to be visible. And up ahead, in the distance, you can see a ship.
Check any kind of ID or outgoing signals coming from that ship.
That ship IDs as the Belbonel class science vessel, the USS Kruskal.
I relay this.
What's their status? Damage, life signs?
Scouting for life signs, it is difficult to tell if those are positive life signs or not, because trying to get a decent reading on it, it's coming back fuzzy. So it's not a no, it's a maybe, probably. Difficult to tell because of the way that it's being distorted, but you can very clearly see a Belbonel class science vessel looks like an old Constitution class, but much smaller. It's about half the size of an Intrepid class vessel. So it's got, the saucer section and the nacelles at the back. I say nacelles, it doesn't actually have both of them. One of them, it looks like it's just been snapped clean off, and there are scorch marks down what's left of the stem that would have attached it to the rest of the ship. The other nacelle that still remains also shows signs of scorching. There are clearly chunks of the outer hull in that area missing, and you can see trailing behind the ship there is a trail of debris. This ship has been battered.
Hail them. I guess that's Vance's job. He does so. USS Kruskal, this is the USS Iskandar. We've received your distress call. Please respond. Is there anything we can do to clear this up? Will proximity help?
Quite possibly.
Bring us in closer. Monitor the ship systems. I want to know if anything starts to change.
Yep. You can move closer to the ship. You close the distance to, let's say, about 20 kilometers.
Yep.
Something like that.
Hail them again.
It's still very staticky. You can actually hear the beginnings of words this time, rather than it just being pure static. But it's still
not really comprehensible.
It's still not very comprehensible. It's still clearly distorted and crackly.
Right, let's see if we can transmit a data package, simple message identifying us as a Starfleet ship. We've come looking for them. I don't want to lie to them, but I don't want to confuse them either. Let's put it under standard transmission protocols for their era. But for the moment, identify us just as the USS Iskandar. Don't give the registry number, and we will answer questions if they challenge us. So, essentially, emailing the ship with Starfleet communique, etc., etc. Utilizing for the moment the standard, the movie era, lovely blue overlay style of a la Star Trek 6.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
Yes, Azad is not in any way lying to them, but she is for the moment not going to present them with the modern Starfleet logo and the USS Iskandar registry we've never established, but something like 736, 2 more digits, which will confuse the shit out of them.
Yep, you can send them across a little package. Presumably, it really is just, "Hi, we're a Starfleet ship. We're the USS Iskandar."
Yeah, we're using all the proper codes for a ship at this time, so we're not Klingons. Please respond.
Yep, you can send that across. You get a ping in response. They're obviously trying to hail you. But I assume that you're going to immediately try and pick up if they try and hail you. It's the line is bad.
What's the danger if we attempt to board the ship? Physically, I mean, other than startling them. That's to my senior staff. Vance shrugs.
It's a bit beyond him at this point. So this is one for the science and the medicine people. So, which of you are going to try and answer this question first? And so I can give appropriate things for you to say.
I'm going to let Burrow go first.
Burrow is not on the bridge, so you'll have to ask them.
I will go first, and then we can page Burrow.
Cool. So, the only danger that you can think of boarding their ship, it all comes back to that problem of time. Because while you're within the warp field of the Iskandar, an hour in here is about 3 hours outside. By leaving that warp field, or dropping it, you're going to be starting to get back to that much faster rate of time going on the outside than where you are now.
We effectively leave the bubble and expose ourselves to the timeline internal to the bubble.
Understood.
Correct.
In which case, if we can send them another transmission, simply informing that we are going to attempt to tow them out of here, and if we can we're asking them to respond with a single ping if they acknowledge and agree, and also that we can't understand them right now. Too much communications interference. Try to fire that one off.
Okay, you can send that message. Again, they try and hail you.
They're having too much difficulty with their computer systems.
It might also be that they haven't heard anything from us. There's nothing to indicate that our messages are coming through, just that they're trying to hail us back, so they still might not have any idea who we are.
They might not be able to understand our messages, but they are still at least trying to communicate. I am going to suggest we attempt to... we need to keep our shields up anyway, and I'm not particularly concerned about their capacity to danger us. I'm going to attempt to... We should deploy a tracked beam anyway, and attempt to withdraw them. I'm going to hope that under the circumstances, they will at least see this as being better than being stuck, even if they're not entirely sure who we are. We have no idea. They seem to have incredibly limited computer systems.
Captain.
Yes?
If we are not certain as to the nature of the situation on board the vessel, is there a potential risk that by tractive beaming them out of the anomaly, we will cause the crew or inhabitants, whomever there may be left, untold damage?
Possibly, but at present, we've run us... Unless our sensors are telling us anything new, at this point, I'm not prepared to dispatch someone to be lost on a long-term away mission.
Ensign Casey, make me another ops check.
I shall do so. It's only a 1. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, no, it's a 1.
That's enough. Because you're a lot closer now, so it's a lot easier to perform better scans of the condition of the ship. So now you are picking up life signs inside. You can't get a number though, but there are life signs. Also, you can get a better look at the state of the ship. When I said it was battered, that not an exaggeration. It is severely damaged.
The kind of damage that would make me think a physical towing without any attempt at repair would be harmful.
Quite possibly, given how much the Iskandar was rocking and rolling as you were going through.
That's true. The turbulence coming outside, I'm not entirely sure it will survive a transition outside of the bubble.
In which case we're going to have... Is this reparable, or are we talking about significant structural damage?
Significant.
The latter.
Significant.
Then we're going to have to make some efforts to bring the crew aboard. What are the possible consequences to them, just for the moment of bringing? What are the obstacles for bringing them aboard the ship physically, transitioning them into our bubble?
If possible, we could neutralize a number of the possible complaints by sending a shuttle to dock with the ship and treat it as a sort of extended airlock, wherein we investigate from our shuttle, transfer them over if need be, and find some way of physically interfacing with the ship.
Clearly, we're suffering from a little bit too much by way of interference to be able to get a solid transporter lock on any of them anyway. However, if we can do something to clear that up by communicating with them, getting them to all move to a part of the ship where there's less interference or something like that, would it be possible for us to just keep them in our transporter buffers, potentially for the return journey, rather than roughly transitioning them immediately into the bubble? We might be able to... That might be something for a little bit more fine-tuning on the transporter work, but it might be able to reduce some of the physiological consequences.
It might even be more possible to have them in a shuttle that is tractor beamed by the Iskandar through, rather than relying on the transporter patterns.
My
Yes,
only
but
concern with that would be what happens to them when we transition through the bubble whilst they're in the buffers.
That's about a ship system, as we haven't suffered any indication of any damage to our transporter systems or our computer banks, data banks for that. My thought with the shuttle is that it does depend on how many there are, but crew complement for the Kruskal for a ship half the size, we're still probably talking about 75-ish, if it's about half the size of Intrepid. That's a lot of that. We have been able to shift people over into our shuttles, but that would be several shuttles, which
adds to the risk. Even if we assume a natural attrition of 25 or 35% based on the explosions we heard.
Even 50 people is still, that's going to take a significant, at least a third of our shuttle complement to keep them aboard. And then that's multiple tractor beams. And if we lose one, we're not going to be able to grab it again with only one tractor beam emitter on the ship.
This is all, however, kept in supposition based on what we will find when we investigate the vessel closer.
Yes. Then in which case, Hexo, I think we're going to have to figure out the way for you to take a shuttle and an away team to attempt to make contact.
Your orders, Captain.
What are going to be the consequences for the away team? They're going to be able to approach the ship, create something of an airlock, especially if we can expand our warp field to possibly to cover the shuttle and maybe a small section, and I'm talking a tiny section of the Kruskal itself. What's the status of their shuttle bay, or are we going to have to do something a little bit more rough to get access?
It looks mostly intact.
I mean, it's usually a hole in the arse of a ship, so...
Exactly. So it's,
Right. If we can position ourselves, especially considering that their secondary hull and themselves have suffered so much damage, we should be able to position ourselves to expand our warp field to encompass a section of the shuttle bay, if not more. If we can stay in contact with each other, then as the shuttle gets closer, you should be able to instruct us on expansion and regulation of the warp field. You can land. And from there, you may even have a better chance of being able to make contact via comms. We may lose contact with one another. We will regulate and monitor you from here, and we will continue. We will not expand the warp field beyond the first half of the shuttle bay unless you direct us to. Otherwise, if you lose contact with us and you leave, well, we'll assume that that's you making your decision. Excellent.
As you say, Captain. If I may have a word in your ready room briefly.
Very well. Ensign Casey starts to make preparations for the shuttle.
Lieutenant Vance, assemble a security team.
Yes, ma'am. Head to the ready room.
And she'll turn on her heels and look at, I guess, whomsoever is on the, I guess it'd be Tarek, who's on the sort of ops desk, and just say, communicate with engineering. We shall need an engineering team.
Commander?
And she'll go with the captain.
Mm-hmm. Into the ready room.
Captain, as you may or may not know, I am not as well versed in matters of diplomacy as you. Should this form a situation regarding the temporal prime directive?
I believe at present the temporal prime directive, there are directives for covering for displaced officers. However, it does not include misleading them. The situation with the USS Bozeman as encountered by the USS Enterprise 10 years ago, Captain Picard directly informed those officers that they were temporally displaced. Subsequently, that has become codified. You will tell them the truth, or you are permitted to tell them the truth. The priority is saving their lives. I would not encourage you to lie to them, but obviously overwhelming them is not advisable.
If, for some reason, Captain, either I and the away team are not believed or are in some way deemed to be hostile, or if the crew refuse to come with us, and I believe they are in some way compromised by their experience, what are my orders, Captain?
Obviously, if you can ideally simply withdraw and return, and we will do what we can from here. If you are talking about whether or not you're authorized to essentially override their will in this, I'm prepared to authorize you to do that.
Thank you, Captain.
They must be confused, and they believe only 2 weeks have passed. If that's what you're asking, really.
I simply wish to be aware of the parameters of the mission, Captain.
You're within your rights to tell them the truth. I wouldn't recommend lying.
It is not in my nature to lie, Captain.
I know, but even obfuscation of the truth to comfort them is something to be done carefully.
I believe they will gain very little from comfort, Captain.
This is true, but it is sometimes considered ideal to manage people better by not giving them the full of information.
Nevertheless, it is my intention to take a full security complement should the crew turn out to be hostile, or for some hostile element to have in some way overpowered them and led to this crisis.
Of course. By all means.
She'll head off.
Me being a motherfucking episode dropping nerd there.
And this one time I read this fanfic about Captain Sisko. And
one time Kelsey Grammer was the captain of a ship. And
it was awesome. Remind me again, how long has it actually been since the ship went missing?
80 years.
80 years.
And I'm going to show my fake Trekkie thing there. What was happening 8 years ago? What are these people going to remember?
So 80 years ago, in terms of Trek era, that puts it around.
I could have just said for the audience that don't watch Star Trek, not I've forgotten. Re-record it. James, re-record.
James, please edit this out. And we start again now. So, yeah, 80 years ago puts this at about the same kind of time as the Star Trek films.
Just after.
Which one?
Just after.
Yeah,
the original series ones.
Okay.
Just after Star Trek 6. So,
yeah.
Ironically, Praxis has exploded.
Well, we always knew it would happen.
And thus the peace treaty has been established with the Klingons.
Yeah. The Klingon peace treaty is probably one of the most recent kind of big events.
That's kind of what I want in my head, is just a linchpin in case I need to talk to them a bit. Like, remember, it helps that I know that you're not super
I'm not super
obsessed with details, so I don't need to be perfect, but just able to go, Klingon treaty was 80 years ago, and they'll be like, oh shit.
Kirk has not
no, it wasn't. Missing. That was like 2 years ago. What the fuck are you on about?
We are between Star Trek 6 and the prologue of Star Trek Generations.
Fucking Generations.
Fucking Generations.
I'm gonna swing in and be the nerd and go, right, so what was the last Star Trek member? Star Trek 6? You haven't missed much. Okay. Let me get you up to speed. You can miss out on Generations. Nemesis gets better with a rewatch. Let's go.
Conveniently, I've only seen the Star Trek films up to 6.
I am an unapologetic Nemesis fan.
I was just weighing up which one of those I'd rather rewatch, Generations or Nemesis. And the fact that I had to stop and think about it, and I'd probably still come down on Nemesis, says a lot about Generations.
Scimitar is one of my favourite ships in all of Star Trek, and I will go to the wire for that.
But Generations does have a good villain.
Shinzon's great! Tom Hardy! Being Tom Hardy!
Yeah, he's
Tom Hardy,
fine.
who is baffling in everything I've ever seen him in, and I love it. He's like the good Nick Cage, or the bad Keanu Reeves.
He's not the bad Keanu. Nick Cage, is he good or not?
If anyone here criticizes Keanu Reeves, I'm leaving. I am. Any criticisms of Keanu Reeves in the chat, I am a mod. I will ban you.
Okay, so it's set after Star Trek 6.
Yeah. Mike, do you want some of this popcorn while they're talking?
I'm getting the shuttle ready. I was told to get the shuttle ready. And I presumably am also on the security detail as Beep Boop the Andorian, but I can't remember.
I don't know who's telling you.
Yeah, I'd like both the security boys, and my thinking is, rather than plugging in a security an engineering NPC, we just have a group of engineers that can come along, so that we can name whoever's in charge of them, but I'm not interested in there being a replacement Alders, who is a replacement Strange, who's a replacement
your named NPC from the engineering squad is Ensign Kingston, who has appeared before. Other than that, it's just some miscellaneous engineering people. You barely know who they are. You might have seen them in a tube once as they crawled past to go and deal with something.
So
as far as you know, they just live in the walls.
So are we going to have an easier time with Casey to be a PC to spout any science if we need science while we're over there? Rather than...
here is my thinking. Currently as it stands, if there is science, it can be as easily told to us by... If there's science exposition, it can be just as easily told us by an NPC as passed through a PC. If there is science figuring out, then obviously we want Casey, because that's the creative side of the plot. But I really want the security boys Because I miss them.
I see no reason why you can't take them and Casey and just make Mike talk to himself.
It probably covers our bases more because,
Like,
yeah.
I'm taking Burov. I've learned that I can do Burov and Talandra at the same time, and that's fine. But I guess,
Take all the
Michael-
PCs!
Michael, it's down to you.
For a moment there, I thought that Talandra was going to be like, I'm not good at diplomacy, so you should lead the away team. But no.
No,
I'm
No.
I'm happy for both to go. You don't need to shield me from having the sock puppet. I know I've not done it yet, but I'm fine.
Also, they're probably not going to talk that much to each other.
No, they hate each
you?
other. One chases the other. The answer won't surprise you.
hey, at least while you're on the while you're on the ship, you know that he can't be in the vents because you can see him.
You
The
think
moment
new
he's not
vents.
behind you in the vents.
The moment Casey isn't looking at Zal, it's just in a vent. It's like alien isolation.
Where
Also,
did,
I heard you just almost called him strange.
I did. 'Cause
Look,
the
are you
There's
saying-
another Zal that's followed Strange to his therapy and is just constantly behind him, and the
Are
therapist
you not
is really
saying, therefore,
He's
that
not real.
Ensign Casey might not have a little crush on Lieutenant Zal?
I've
Is it?
wow, my brain nearly melted applying that logic.
We've just escalated from it's fine, they're not going to talk to each other, to Casey has a crush on Zal.
Do they
That
bang
explains-
though?
He's very tall
That
and
explains
very
why
strong.
Casey wouldn't be talking to him that much, because he's a bit shy, because he's got a crush on him.
Sure.
As
He gets it,
established,
it's
that's
fine.
not what Casey does when he has a crush on people. Casey negs them.
Casey tries to ruin their whole career.
And you're saying he doesn't do that to
It's
Zal?
okay, Casey, because if Burov and Vance are both going on this mission, you can have two people to look out for you. Mum and Dad are going.
So
Anyway,
we're
okay,
bringing all
so
of you
who's-
and only one of me.
So, who is actually going on this damn away mission? We've got Vance, Talandra, Burov, Zal, and Casey,
Yes.
and some miscellaneous
And
engineers.
Kingston and the science kids. Engineering kids.
I love how Kingston's priority job has been trying to break through the ready room door.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
Now
then
he's chief
became a
engineer.
mist zombie.
Oh yeah, he did briefly. No, that was Aldous. I don't think Kingston did.
Kingston did. He
Anywho.
stopped trying to.
Anyway.
Yes.
Time
Anyway.
travel.
Time travel bullshit. You have to travel across the time. Okay, so you can all pile into a shuttle. Who's flying this thing? Presumably Talandra.
Dog.
Make me a piloting check.
I just put hand cream on.
Oh, well, Vance can
Well,
pilot.
sucks to be you.
Obviously not as well as Talandra, but it's reassuring to know that Vance can pilot.
Well, Vance will be Talandra's co-pilot. Like,
Yeah,
that
that's-
makes perfect sense.
I just liked having a backup. That made me feel better.
I
Your backup is Casey. He's the
think I need to
backup
wait for my
pilot.
character sheet to cycle back around.
Your pilot is +4.
Someone tell me what my piloting score is.
4.
It's 4. You're the best at it.
Great, then I got
We've been
+4.
waiting for this slideshow character.
I don't have the spreadsheet open. I can't access spreadsheets easily. So the doc is in my quick bar, not the sheet, and my laptop's very slow. And stop yelling at me. I don't deserve this.
They take 12 seconds to cycle, and there's so many to go.
We will tell you. That's
got a-
fine.
I got a
It's
plus
fine.
Fine, it's all cool. So you're
+4.
8.
is that +4 on the dice or +4
No,
total?
I got an equal.
You got a flat 0 on the dice.
but I got 4 overall.
Okay, yeah, +4 is good enough though. So yeah, you are able to fly up to the Kruskal. Are you just flying up to it, or are you attempting to dock?
I think as we approach, we'll be attempting to make contact.
Mhm.
And if actual contact is impossible to make because of distortion, we will be projecting our intentions in a kind of, we are approaching.
Look at us coming towards your shuttle bay.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm sure there must have been older systems that were literally just like, we're flashing a light on the outside of the ship it's green because we're coming, you know, or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Talandra will be approaching slowly but surely. Like, she's not stopping and waiting, but she's going slower in case there's some panic. But her intention is to safely dock as well as possible.
Cool. Yeah, so as you kind of hail the Kruskal, as you get closer, the signal gets better as you get closer, but still not well enough to actually make proper contact. So again, it's with occasional like half words in there. So they're clearly responding.
So they're responding. It's not a repeated message.
Yeah. It's definitely, this is them responding to your attempts to make contact with them. But what you're getting back is too staticky to actually count as making contact or to actually be usable.
I repeat, this is Lieutenant Commander Talandra, the USS Iskandar. We are docking with your vessel. We are preparing to dock with your vessel.
Not really getting.
I think they heard our name.
Good.
At least that means that they could probably get some concept of what we're saying. The way I see it is we might as well try to dock. If they heard us, it's fine. If they think we're not friends, then they're not capable of even firing a warning shot at us. So,
nevertheless, we shall dock slowly and prepare ourselves.
And you can do so. You can come into the shuttle bay. It's a bit shaken up looking in there, but it looks like the shuttle bay was far enough away from any of the major causes of damage to the ship that it's in comparatively good condition compared to some of the bits you've seen on the outside.
I guess first things first is immediately begin scanning for like major problems, like, oh, it's full of
poison radiation.
Yeah.
No, there's no poison radiation. There's no Ensign Rosie Alders crawling around on the ceiling, or any of the things that you've encountered in shuttle bays recently. It is just your regular shuttle bay. It is not full of bees. No bees in here or any other letters. It's just a regular, old-fashioned looking shuttle bay.
Superb.
You can.
Talandra will begin looking around, scanning, you know, the usual stuff while the away team fan out.
So you are now in the shuttle bay and have got out the shuttle, yes?
I think Talandra will have gone out with the select security detail.
is there any sign from within the shuttle of being able to tell if anyone's in the shuttle bay? Can we tell if the shuttle bay is empty or not?
Pretty much as you kind of come into land.
Yeah.
Some other people enter the shuttle bay.
Commander, do you want us gun toting, or we come in peace?
We most certainly come in peace, Lieutenant.
And when I say gun toting, I mean, do you want me to have a team ready with our guns, with our phasers ready in case they don't want to be warm and welcoming? Obviously, we will lower weapons the moment.
I shall step out. You remain in control of the shuttle. They are not going to shoot at me, Lieutenant, and should they, you will be vindicated in your decision.
Commander, I'm not feeling very vindicated by the idea of you being shot again.
Perhaps. However, these people have quite possibly been through a very traumatic experience. The last thing they will need is Starfleet officers pointing weapons at them.
May I at least go out first, Commander? I will not have a weapon raised.
You may accompany me out, Lieutenant Vance.
Very well. Don't get shot again. Don't let Emily get you shot again.
The
decisions. I make the decisions now, Kath.
She makes. In the meantime,
so it's just the two of you stepping out of the shuttle into the
ready for quick draw mode.
In the meantime, should there be any issues, Lieutenant Vance, I assume you leave Lieutenant Zal in charge of the shuttle.
Yes, I'll if they shoot us, either, recover us and don't shoot to do anything other than draw them off, and then we get the hell out of here.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Okay. You can step out of the shuttle into the shuttle bay. And in front of you, almost in front, not quite directly in front of the door of the shuttle, but quite close to the shuttle, are 3 officers in red, old school Starfleet uniforms, the white turtlenecks underneath. And all 3, no, 2 of them are pointing phasers at you. Hold it right there. Who the hell are you 2?
My name is Lieutenant Commander Talandra of the USS Iskandar, Starfleet. Might we have a word?
Lieutenant Vance, Chief of Security, USS Iskandar.
They lower their faces a bit because they can see that you have your hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Talandra's hands are kind of more neutral, but yeah, she's clear.
Yeah, but your hands are visible. You are not immediately presenting a threat, and there's 3 of them and 2 of
Do these people appear human?
Yep, these 3 are human. Vance,
Visible
one
rank?
of them.
Sorry, carry on. I was also asking about visible rank. Beyond that.
The one in the middle who she clearly has a slightly heavier weapon with her, but she hasn't had that raised. She's displaying Lieutenant Commander pips.
It's the
It's
a little buckle on the band.
It's a little buckle on the band,
over,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's displaying that she's a lieutenant commander. The other 2 are lieutenants, and it's the 2 lieutenants that have their phasers pointed directly at you, whereas the lieutenant commander, she's just kind of braced and ready.
May we have a word, Commander
Graham? Yeah, what I was going to say is, Vance, the woman in the middle looks kind of familiar.
Yeah.
And you've just said the name as well.
Mm-hmm.
Commander Graham.
Lieutenant Commander Graham.
I understand you have been through a great deal, and we have some potentially troubling news for you.
No kidding. I think that probably best you have a word with the captain, and she will take out a communicator. And I gotta say, Captain Young, they've boarded the ship. They're not. The intruders aren't immediately presenting a threat, and they want to talk to you. And you can kind of hear her. Very well. I'll be down in a moment. She puts the communicator away. Captain will be along shortly.
Thank you. I assure you the weapons are quite unnecessary. We are happy to put ours away if it will make you uncomfortable.
That might be appreciated.
Lieutenant Zal, stow weapons.
He does.
How many of you have come aboard?
A crew complement of approximately, Izzy's forgotten. Talandra gives the accurate number.
8, I think is what we had. It was
An away team of approximately 8.
8, okay.
Security complement and engineering complement.
We also have a doctor if there are any injured aboard your vessel.
Duly noted. But we'll have the talk with the captain first.
Of course.
And as she says, as Lieutenant Commander Graham says this, in comes somebody else bearing a captain's insignia. Again, human, kind of average height, short hair, looking quite stressed.
Talandra recognizes that expression intensely. It's the expression of, I'm a captain and why?
It's stressed both mentally and physically, because she's clearly got, bruises and scratches.
Stress boxes are filled.
So some of her low-level stress boxes are filled, both her physical ones and her mental ones.
She wakes up in the morning with those stress boxes filled.
These days, absolutely. And is anybody trying to read her expression at the moment, or are you just going to see what she says?
Sorry, I'm too busy
making
eyeballing the commander.
Yeah, you're too busy trying to have a look at the Lieutenant Commander, who looks very familiar to you.
Talandra is almost certainly trying to get a read on her because that's what Talandra does.
Cool. Maybe a quick empathy check then before she says out.
12 seconds.
I can look at what your empathy score is if that helps.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll look up your stats.
I don't have the spreadsheet.
Nor do I. I've got
Your empathy is 5.
Your
you
empathy's
fucking
5.
rock.
So
Okay, I got a +9.
bloody hell. Yeah, you know everything
What's
about
her
this one.
social security number?
Talandra spent a long time learning to cold read people because humans confuse her.
Yep, and you can read the hell out of this human. She is clearly barely keeping her emotions in check. There's a lot of restraint that she is currently exercising. And what she is trying to hold back, from what you can tell, is mostly fury. She is angry towards you and the crew of the Iskandar that have come aboard.
Fascinating. That's not standard.
Fucking Vulcans, man.
That was Izzy. That was Izzy's fascination.
Yeah, I assume that you didn't say that out loud.
Yeah, no, I know assume that wasn't IC, but that is like
I play a Vulcan for a fucking reason. She's angry at you. Wow.
Fascinating.
Talandra's eyebrow will betray fascinating, but she won't speak. She'll just step forward in a kind of acknowledging fashion. But probably, any of the crew that have come out of the shuttle will see Talandra and be like, "Oh, don't be amused by this woman and her anger."
And she kind of very quickly looks across you all to try and establish who it is that she's got in front of her, basically.
Captain Young, I presume.
Yes, and you are...
I'm Lieutenant Commander Talandra, First Officer of the USS Iskandar.
Yes, from the Iskandar. Good to finally put some faces to some of you, I guess. Now, would you mind explaining to me what it is that you have done to my ship and what it is you now want with my ship?
I'm afraid, Captain Young, that you are going to have to be more specific than that. I believe we have done nothing but dock with your vessel. We attempted to hail you numerous times.
Yes, as well as sending in a couple of probes to try and first make contact with your missing ship and then with us. You'll recall you only sent one probe.
Yeah, and also with our missing ship.
Mm-hmm. Talandra's going to glance at the security detail that are about, and is going to say, perhaps, Captain Young, this is a conversation best had not held in your... Completely forgotten what this place is called.
Shuttle
Not
bay.
held.
Shuttle bay.
Is a conversation best not held in the shuttle bay?
By all means, I'm very happy to take this conversation elsewhere.
By your leave, Captain.
And you are very much being escorted by the security officers.
Are they
Talandra gets
letting
a
us
vibe.
bring everyone? Or is just Talandra trying to go?
Yeah, it's just Talandra going, or
Captain,
you
I
going to
have-
indicate plans to say?
Captain, you must understand. When we arrived, we expected to find an emergency situation. I have with me engineers, medical staff, scientists, and security officers. Do you wish for them to remain here, or may I bring them with me?
I would rather they remained here for now until we've established what is going on here.
Commander,
Then-
under the circumstances, I would express a desire to remain as your personal security detail.
If I may bring one officer with me.
Very well. Commander Graham, have some more security officers brought down here to keep an eye on the shuttle. How many are aboard? 6, Mum. 6, very well. Arrange security as you see fit. And Commander Graham, Lieutenant Commander Graham, sorry, arranges for some security officers to come down. And when they arrive, she, Captain Young, and one of the other security lieutenants will escort Talandra and Vance out. And you're taken through the Kruskal, down some of the corridors to what looks like what Captain Young has been using as a ready room.
Do we get any sense of this damage that we've heard so much about?
Yes, so you can see that there are kind of bits kind of missing from walls. You can see that there are wires trailing occasionally in places. The lights are quite dim. It's clearly running on emergency power for any of the lighting. The air's got that kind of slightly stale smell to it that very recycled air has. It's perfectly breathable, but it's clearly not, running at full whack.
Vance, what do you make of this? Combat or?
What do I make of this? it's a good question.
It's a good question. So from the damage that you saw from the outside as you're approaching, there was no indication of weapons fire.
They talked about an explosion.
They talked about an explosion, but
something affecting the nacelle, which is why things have gone so bad.
Yeah. It looks with that nacelle that looked like it was kind of snapped off and was just in a trail of debris behind.
If that's
it's quite likely that was the main source of the explosion that Captain Young was talking about in her distress call.
No indication of any other damage? Not obviously, anyway.
No other source of damage. Like, clearly the ship was quite shaken by a warp core exploding. Yeah. But there's nothing to suggest that phasers, photon torpedoes, or any other weaponry that you know of has been used here. This clearly just looks like a massive explosion went off right next to the ship, and it's just that shockwave that's just torn through the ship and caused damage through it.
I'd say no indication of weapons fire damage. The primary extent appears to be the consequences of losing a nacelle and whatever made them lose a nacelle, but there's no secondary damage. If it was in combat, then it was one sudden, singular blast, which is unlikely.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
So yep, you are taken into what appears to be Captain Young's ready room. And she gestures for you to sit.
I will stand.
Yeah, Talandra prefers to stand. She's a straight back kind of person. We're not the fun squad. Captain Young, how long have you been in this region of space for?
Approximately 2 weeks.
And what was the last thing you remember affecting your ship?
The last thing I remember affecting my ship, Lieutenant Commander, was when one of your ships suddenly appeared out of nowhere, caused some kind of explosion to happen, which caused my own warp cores to explode, leaving me and my crew stranded in the middle of space. Now,
How long ago did that happen, Captain?
that was approximately 2 weeks ago, hence why we've been stuck here that long.
Fascinating. Captain, I'm afraid that what you're describing is, I believed, somewhat impossible. However, I believe I'm
Really?
also starting to piece together what has happened.
You think it's impossible?
Captain Young.
Doubt what my crew have seen and experienced, and that you yourselves have been following up since you sent a probe in not 2 days after the explosion happened, and a second probe around 2 hours ago looking for us.
No, Captain Young. You have not been in this anomalous region of space for 2 weeks. I regret to inform you, you have been here now approaching 80 years. Our probe was not sent until about 2, maybe 3 hours ago.
One of your probes was sent 2 hours ago.
We only
other
sent the one, Captain.
10 days ago. And now you're trying to tell me that it hasn't been 2 weeks, that it has been 80 years.
That is what I am telling you, yes, Captain Young.
Izzy, make me a rapport check.
Look, the Vulcan's good for some things.
At a -2.
She ain't happy.
She ain't happy. She doesn't believe you. And given that you got that really good empathy check earlier, I'm going to let you have this kind of...
We're adding 4, by the way, Izzy.
Thank you. Why didn't we bring Zal, the expert at diffusing tension?
He's never done that once in his life.
Because he's not given him the chance.
Don't be ridiculous. But yes,
wait,
you've already you can get the read that not only does she not believe you, she doesn't want to believe you. She doesn't trust you.
That's a straightforward 1.
That's a straightforward one. Well, is that with the -2?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's still a pass then.
Yeah, but I'm okay for it to be a very mild
Yeah. It is a mild pass. That would have been yeah.
Especially since I should make it very clear, Talandra is making no attempt to soften this blow.
Sure, but you're a Vulcan.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, Captain, that is precisely what I'm telling you. We have sent only one probe after you, and until about a fortnight, until about a day, half a day ago, many of my crew were not aware that your vessel existed.
Really?
So we could not have, as it were, sent an explosive after you 2 weeks ago when you have been missing now nearly 80 years.
If you didn't send a probe that came from a ship called the Iskandar, your captain, are they called Captain Athan?
Indeed.
Yes. Then, Lieutenant Commander, and she goes to a pad, would you care to explain why you think we have been here for 80 years and where? Share audio.
I don't like anything that's about to happen.
It's never good when I'm sharing audio, is it?
I didn't realise how much Talandra would love this.
Mike, I can't do the thing.
Oh,
Emily needs power.
you need power. Let me grant you power.
Host disabled participant sharing.
You're a host now.
Thank Michael.
You're welcome, Michael.
No, Athan's a host.
Oh, Triljo.
But she's not here, so I'm the host now. But yes. If you didn't send a probe through to us 10 days ago, would you care to explain this? Hang on, it's loading.
We can't.
This is Captain USS Iskandar. Please respond. Unable to establish stable communication. Transmission to go wander off before we've learned. Failure. Classified. However, reported missing.
Fascinating.
We received that message, or rather we heard that message being broadcast around 10 days ago.
Of course you did.
So, I'm going to ask again. What is it that you and your people have done to my ship? And what do you want with my ship now? And why are you claiming that we have been missing for 80 years? When as far as we know, and as far as we're concerned, it has only been 2 weeks.
We're trapped in a bubble of unstable time. Captain, may I have permission to return to our shuttle?
Until I get some kind of explanation, you do not have that permission, Lieutenant Commander.
Frozen.
Izzy's frozen. That's how unstable the time is around here. It's gone out of character.
I have frozen.
Oh.
It is bad.
Hey, you're back.
You're back.
I just thought it was an ominous silence. It wasn't.
Okay.
What was the last thing I said? Time loop.
What was the last thing you heard? Because you went out while I was talking.
No, I went out while I was talking.
Okay. I can't remember.
It's
what
been
it was.
80
It was,
years.
can we go back to the shuttle? And the Captain
you said
Young's
can
like,
we get
not without a better explanation.
not without an explanation, Lieutenant Commander.
Oh, okay, very well. Then Athan said, Lieutenant Vance attempt to help the ship.
Okay, Athan says that.
Oh, if this is going to pick now to be a little...
Yeah, your internet's picking out to be a little shit.
Oh my god, it's been fine up until this point, you piece of garbage!
And as soon as you leave the Iskandar warp field...
Garbage! I'm so cross.
You're stuck on the maddest face. Like, it's perfectly fine,
It
but
fits.
you're
Yeah,
angry.
it's perfectly reasonable. Everybody's angry in this situation except for Vance, who's just confused.
Hey, you're moving again.
Hey,
Okay,
hey.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm going to attempt to put my fan over on this side of the... Is that obnoxious for my microphone?
Nope.
Can't hear it.
You also can't hear. Oh no, we can hear you.
Sorry, everyone was scowling at me and I didn't like it.
We just
No,
didn't
that
know
was just
why
frowning.
the fan impacted your
Was
internet.
like, what's a fan got to do with it?
So kind
Well,
of.
it might be because my laptop's off. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's legit.
Look, I can't fix the miscellaneous internet gas, but I can make my laptop less hot. That's a thing I can do.
The bad
Nevertheless,
miasma.
Then what Talandra says is, can you raise the ship?
To whom does she say that?
So that's me. To Vance! She says it to Vance!
I was checking whether or not she was trying to ask Captain Young to hail the Iskandar. That's what I was asking. I've had half of this sentence.
We can't even communicate in the same room.
No.
We hail a ship that's 20 clicks away.
Okay, so can I make sure
Okay.
we're on the same page? Talandra asks, "Can we return to the shuttle?" I want to make sure that Talandra asks, "Can we return to the shuttle?" Young says,
no.
no, and then Talandra says, "Vance tried to raise the Iskandar."
No, because that makes it look really combative. She
That's-
actually said,
This
"Can
is
we
why
get
we're
back to the
checking.
shuttle?" Vance raised the Iskandar before Young had responded to her because Emily hadn't said anything.
That's why I asked, because
I did,
the
but the time
internet,
bubble said no.
because the internet had been unclear. I was checking because that did sound a bit combative.
Just go, no. Vance
Okay.
raised the Iskandar at once.
Okay.
By the break, maybe.
Understand now why
Yeah,
Young
I was
is
about
so
to-
angry
yeah.
all the time.
Okay, I think given the technical difficulties we're having, we're going to have a short break while we try and make Izzy's internet be less method acty. So we will be back shortly. Bye. Welcome back, viewers. Or viewer, maybe you've all left. Who knows? Did you all have a good break? We did. We had a time in the break.
Bonding time.
Crew bonding time. Speaking of time, let's get back to the episode. So, where we left off before the internet happened and left us stranded on the Ethernet for 52 days, according to a Hyperion. Lieutenant Vance and Lieutenant Commander Talandra are in Captain Young's ready room with Captain Young, Commander Graham, and the security officer from the Kruskal.
Graham's here as well. Neat.
Yeah,
Cool.
Graham's here as well. Of course, Captain Young took her chief of security.
I'm going to just...
And
I'm just going to cut out some of the dead wood of the previous messy sentence. And upon the end of this conversation, Talandra is just going to go, "This is Lieutenant Commander Talandra to the USS Iskandar."
hang on. Where we left off, as far as the rest of us were concerned, when your internet decided to play silly buggers, was you'd asked if you could return to the shuttle, and before you said anything else.
So as far as I was concerned,
Young
I said a
said-
couple of things that
Sure.
then didn't happen, and so I'm not getting budged down into the things I wanted to say. So I'm retconning all of that back to the pre-internet fuzziness stage.
Yeah, which is why the point that I'm bringing it back to is the point where you've asked if you can go back to the shuttle, and then
Fine. I don't want to go back over it. I don't care. Just do what you want.
Yeah, immediately following that, Captain Young has said no, not until you give me a proper explanation.
Very well. May I speak to your science officer?
You may.
Thank you.
And she'll ring out the communicator. Ensign Kareen, to my ready room, please. And shortly after, in comes Ensign Kareen, who is about remarkably similar looking to Ensign Katie, not in the same way as the Commander Graham situation. It's more just, you know, he's a small nerd boy who looks very nervous and awkward and is wondering what the hell's going on.
Talandra immediately adopts him, and it's all fine. Come home and meet your new brother.
Yes, Captain. Lieutenant Commander Talandra here from the Iskandar has said that she would like to talk to you. Right. Oh, okay.
Ensign Kareem, where does your expertise lie in the field of astrometrics?
Astrometrics. Not my best field, I'm afraid, but reasonably good with astrometrics, mostly with astrophysics and stellar phenomena.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Captain Young is just sort of side-eyeing this babbling ensign. She doesn't say anything, but she's you don't even need to make a check for the face to clearly be saying, "Stop saying so much. Shut up."
Talandra is completely blanking the not blanking the captain, but is
Sure.
engaging thoroughly with the ensign.
With the ensign.
And again, I'm going to talk, but I apologize because I don't science good science.
No, this is fine.
My science field when I was in school was biology. I was quite good at that. What about the series of wormholes and time?
Wormholes and temporal physics. Not got a huge amount of experience with that.
Basics, though, in the academy.
Oh yes, of course. Basics in the academy and with the science.
That will have to do. Your pad, if you please.
But pad. And he looks to the captain and the security officer.
The situation, you and I suppose us right now, I don't fully understand it entirely. We are within some sort of gravitational anomaly, and the commander is I'm assuming, attempting to fully explain this to your specialist.
Yes, quite so. Why else would we have specialists if not to explain things to them, Lieutenant Vance?
But there is some sort of gravitational anomaly. I'm the chief of security. I'll just go by what I'm told as well.
Ensign Kareem.
There's a kind of shrug from Commander Graham as she's kind of, okay, yeah, you and me both. Again, with that kind of facial expression.
Talandra has no interest in his anti-intellectualism.
I'm going to try to not get a shot.
Ensign Kareem keeps hold of his pad for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Talandra's literally like doing the thing she does with Casey where she'll lean over and start doing things, but in his field of vision.
He pulls it away from you when you start kind of going to it.
If you wish me to explain this to you, I shall need the use of diagrams. You are approximately 80 years behind the science of the Federation, and I need to get you up to speed.
Sorry, 80?
Commander, they're not accepting your basic premise here.
The captain isn't accepting my basic premise, whereas the fields of science have progressed somewhat exponentially since the ensign was the chief of science. Therefore, I'm hoping that through logic and mathematics, I will be able to explain our position much better. Thereby, this expert may explain to the captain the situation as it stands, Lieutenant. You are welcome to explain to the chief of security or the captain through matters of public record. However, logic is what I'm relying on in this moment. Assuming, of course, Captain, that you have no Vulcans aboard your vessel.
We do have a Vulcan on board this vessel. However, I would appreciate before you start meddling with anything that is on board our ship, including our data pads, all you have given me by way of an explanation is that you have said that it has been 80 years. You have given no further information, nor have you attempted to explain this first probe, even, that you claimed you didn't send.
We did not send it. We sent one probe, and I find it fascinating that a second has interacted with your vessel. This is a very interesting conundrum we find ourselves under, but we were not going to get out of it by denying the facts, Captain.
And
yet you have given me precious little by way of facts other than a statement that it has been 80 years since time has passed.
Then, Captain Young,
yet I don't yet see a good reason why, beyond a verbal explanation, which I'm very happy to have my science officer here in case you feel more elaborate explanation than a non-specialist in the field of astrophysics would understand. If you feel a more complex explanation is required, then by all means, Ensign Kareen here will be happy to translate, as it were.
So I'm just going to stand up again.
But as I see it, all I have here is your word. No actual explanation. And also, you say that you're Starfleet, and yet this does not appear to be a Starfleet uniform. Your ship, both of the ships that have appeared since they were identical, this ship that you've brought, the Iskandar, and the other ship that appeared, virtually identical, are not of a class or designation that we recognize being a Federation vessel. So, all I have by way of proof that you're Starfleet is a communication badge that an insignia that you're wearing that matches Federation, and your word over the second probe.
Captain Young, if I may.
Yes.
When we arrived aboard the vessel, your vessel, having attempted to hail you many times from our Starfleet vessel, using codes that we believed were appropriate for the era of time that you find yourselves in, we made the decision not to lie to you. Thereby, it would have been quite trivial for us to simply replicate uniforms of your era and pretend to be of your time frame. We decided not to, out of courtesy between Starfleet officers. Upon arrival here, I attempted to explain to you using, as Lieutenant Vance would call it, layman's terms, that you were in an anomalous zone of space. Given that instance, I was fascinated by the differences between our account and yours, which I believe is entirely due to this anomalous zone of space, which has temporarily affected both your ship and ours. Given your intransigence in understanding the situation that you find yourself in, I attempted to explain it to your science officer, whom I believe you would trust the judgment of more than a pair of strangers. However, if a Starfleet officer took aboard our ship, making quite outlandish claims, 2 weeks would not be enough for me to decide that they were hostile and to treat them with unnecessary hostility. We have come aboard your ship in the gift of friendship because for the last 80 years, you have all been declared missing in action and presumed dead. We do not know how long we have to extract you from this anomalous region of space, and we would like to begin work as soon as possible. You are welcome to find my tone difficult, Captain, but your hostility in this situation could lead to many more deaths than you have already experienced.
I'm just going to check your stats, is he? Yeah, make me another rapport check. Without the disadvantage this time.
Seven.
Bloody hell.
Like I said, Talandra has stood up and she's got her arms behind her back and she's using her height.
But more relevantly, she's going very much full Vulcan at this situation. Ensign, give the Lieutenant Commander your pad. Of course, Captain. And he...
Thank you, Ensign. Shall we?
Yes,
In the meantime, Lieutenant Vance, I nearly called you Lieutenant Van. That was my brain doing strange things. Lieutenant Vance, perhaps it would suit to discuss with the captain and the lieutenant commander about the nature of the situation they find themselves in historically.
If that's gonna help smooth anything over, by all means.
I'm sure they have many questions.
Happy to elaborate and for anything that's relevant. I mean, the way I see it. Commander Graham, your family's from Northern California, am I correct?
Yes. How?
because you have a nephew by the name of James, and he is my
Yes.
wife's grandfather.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, this is on the whole time dilation thing, which I can't exactly pretend I know, but that's
No, I don't really know it either. But
the last thing you remember was about the year 2300, where in the year we found you in the year
yeah,
2379.
2299. It's just
And you have a certain familial similarity. We're here to try to get you out of here. But yeah, I know that because my wife has talked about her family history. She mentioned a missing ancestor. I admit I don't remember the details great much, but a lot of time has passed. But and it's gonna be pretty awful, I'm sure. If we can get you out of here, then you've missed 80 years. But I'm hoping that's at least demonstrating some. We ain't bullshitting you. It's
no, I I believe you. Just wow.
yeah. A lot's happened over the last 80 years, and to be honest, if you want a history lesson, I can give it. But the gist of it is that Klingons are still our friends. Romulans
That's good.
Romulans came out of hiding, and we don't hate each other.
That's unexpected.
The Cardassians got real big for their boots and ain't so much no more. And but Alpha Quadrant's as stable as it's been.
Landra, who was obviously listening to both conversations, falls quiet at that moment and then goes back to her explanation with the young ensign.
Ensign Kareen doesn't notice because he's too busy stammering his way through the
Like,
his
also,
part of the conversation.
because I'm allowed, because this person seems to be a trusting source, if they have science questions, Talandra is able to just go, oh, it's this. And they'll be like, what do you mean it's this? When was that figured out? About 50 years ago?
What?
Sorry. Keep up. So you want to do this? I want to do what now? Really, what do they teach you in this academy? Very well, Ensign, do you have this?
I think so. Yes, it all seems quite clear.
I want you to gather together a team of individuals, trusted types, security types, as declared by the captain, and go to the shuttle bay and report to my science officer.
Captain, with your permission? Yes, Ensign, go with a security team. Commander Graham, if you could assign a couple of officers to go with Ensign Kareen.
Ensign Kareen, when you get to shuttle bay, you are to report to Ensign Casey.
Casey, right, understood.
You'll know him.
Once they leave, she'll look at Vance and go, they will either hate each other or be firm friends within the hour.
I really hope they hate each other.
Captain, you will forgive my terse tone of earlier, but as you understand...
No, I do understand.
I appreciate that it has been a particularly long 2 weeks for you.
In more ways than one, it seems.
Quite so.
But yes, 2 weeks stranded in space with no reply to our distress calls. It's been a difficult time for the crew.
If it is of any comfort, I believe
what we can do to get this poor thing up and running again and determine what happened to us.
Should that not be possible, our attempts to return aboard the Iskandar will of course involve transporting you back. Speaking of which, Lieutenant Vance, we should make contact.
Better coming from you, Commander.
Talandra doesn't put on lip balm, I've just got a dry mouth.
That's weird, but I don't want to talk to myself.
This is a serious goddamn scene, Sanders.
Okay. Talandra to the Iskandar. Talandra to the Iskandar.
Now you may speak. There's a bit of a lag.
Iskandar here, Commander. Please report.
I'm not going to make you fizz rep the lag, but there's a lag.
Okay, good, fine.
Just do it like a crappy BBC interview.
The lag's about 20 seconds between messages, which is why I'm not making you fizz rep, because we'd be here all night. But so you're aware.
Captain, we have made contact with Captain Young. Over.
Understood. Is there a plan of action for transporting, securing, transferring the crew of the Kruskal over?
I have put our science officer and theirs in touch with one another in the hope of forming some mutual conclusion. There were some initial difficulties in persuading the officers that the situation was actually happening, but now I believe we are on the path to an accord. More information to follow. Over.
Understood. Keep us posted as to whether or not we will need to deploy more shuttles or prepare the transporters, and whether or not that will require any further calibration. Keep in touch regularly. Over and out.
Very well. Captain Young, what do you need of us? Do you have injured, damaged parts of your ship?
In many ways quicker to count the parts of the ship that aren't damaged at this point. The worst of the injured... let me get my BC's list. The worst of the injured, Dr. Sitak has been able to triage, but there are still some injuries that sickbay is dealing with.
Very well, then we are welcome to loan you the use of our doctor, who has accompanied with us, and the belief that we were going to find a much more disastrous vessel. I would also like to speak with your your long-lived members of staff, Vulcans, Andorians, joined Trill.
That would also be Dr. Sitak, who's a Vulcan, and our second engineer, I suppose now chief engineer, Engineer Shterov, is an Andorian.
Excellent. Then I believe, Lieutenant Vance, we should make that trip to the shuttle bay and gather our crew.
Yes,
Thank you for your
Commander.
cooperation, Captain Young.
Thank you.
We will be around should you need us.
Of course. Thank you.
And Captain, for what it is worth, I believe you should not blame yourself for the situation that you find yourself in. This spatial anomaly was surprising even to us with our significantly advanced scanning technology. We are only glad to have found you in time.
In time. What a choice of words.
Quite. Lieutenant?
Yep.
Okay, so we will cut to the shuttle bay where Lieutenant Zal, while all of this has been going on, there have been a couple of security officers posted outside the shuttle from the Kruskal. They're very much keeping an eye on the door. They haven't made any overt threats towards you or anything like that. Have you interacted with them at all, or are you just sitting tight and waiting for a word
If
from
they
them?
are falling into business, like, guarding mode, and there's no sense of camaraderie, then I can't, at this point, assume the control of information. I don't know what has been filtered down to them, and so I have just got to busy myself and keep an eye on them.
Cool, you can do that. And yeah, they are very much on guard duty because they don't know what's going on. All the information that they've got is shells come from the ship that looks like the one that caused the whole problem in the first place, and here we are. So yeah, they're not making any moves to talk to you or anything like that. So you'll be sat tight in the shuttle. And then into the shuttle bay comes a very kind of nervous looking ensign who's about Casey's build and height. He's clutching a couple of data pads.
Oh, finally someone in blue. A reasonable human we can talk to.
They're not going to be in blue because everybody's in red
God.
uniforms at this time.
Finally someone with the science cuffs or whatever.
The
Yeah.
turtlenecks are different colours.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
he's gonna-
turtlenecks are different colours, but
And he's holding a
he's still very
pad,
much in the
not a
red jacket.
phaser.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, everybody's wearing the red jackets
Ugh.
with the turtlenecks. And he comes up, he'll talk to the security officers, who'll frown at him a bit, and talks to them some more. You can't quite hear what he's saying. And then he comes up to the shuttle. The
Lieutenant
security
Zal,
officer.
we're being invaded.
Oh, it's okay. This isn't an invasion. It's a talk to. I've been sent to talk to an ensign Casey.
Right.
Is the name I was given.
Yeah.
Corin's looking up at. Is presumably Zal's stood in the doorway at this point. Is the man?
Yeah.
Burov kind of poking their head round.
I think Burov is going to like put their hands on Zal's shoulders and go, "Don't loom so. He's so little."
Oh no, it's fine. I don't feel loomed over.
You're frightening him.
I'm not frightening him. Any looming is completely accidental. I can't control my height. I apologise for that. I will retrieve...
It's fine.
Ensign Casey you want?
No, he's kind of frowning at your insignia because he doesn't quite recognise them because it's obviously not quite the same as what he's used to. You're
Lieutenant. Junior grade, but lieutenant.
I'm Ensign Kareen, science officer aboard, chief science officer aboard the Kruskal.
Pleasure to meet you, Ensign. I will retrieve Casey for you.
Change voice.
He steps inside, unzips. Casey steps out.
Whoa!
They've never seen together. Casey comes out. Hello.
Hello. Are you Ensign Casey?
I am, yes.
Fuck.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna wait until Izzy comes back, I think, before I carry on.
Everything's now gone wild.
This has gone buck wild.
I am both me and Izzy.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
Oh no,
Gonna
it's not
wait.
even picking. That's weird.
We apologise for the inconvenience caused by the
there we
micro black holes currently affecting everything. I apologise profusely for writing a plot that appears to have affected the out-of-character technical functioning of this stream. Please hold.
these poor fucking displaced bastards have
Not
just
having a good
arrived and been
time.
yelled at.
Nobody's having a good time here. Frey McFuzzles, no.
No.
Just seen what you've put in the chat.
Yep.
No,
Nope.
absolutely not. Well, you should be sorry.
Try to reclaim.
Just going to move us to our Zoom window for the time being.
Legit.
You don't need to lean so.
Oh, right, okay.
You're not being the captain here. You don't need to put on a captain's lean.
Since we don't know when Izzy we'll get back, we can continue with this scene.
That's true. Oh.
Yeah, we can. Ooh.
All internet crashed. Yep. Should be back.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely pick up the conversation between Casey and Kareem.
Cool.
I'm just wondering if Borov wanted any input, but I think Borov's probably. I'm going to say that Borov is mostly sat behind Zal, trying to make sure Zal doesn't loom so, and is just kind of going, "Oh, look at the two boys. See, I know what was needed for this situation was to bring in another science ensign for Ensign Casey to make friends with. It clearly has helped with the whole situation." Yes, says Zal. That's the background that's happening during this scene. We've established this. Yes, so yes, I'm Ensign Kareem. I'm the chief science officer of the Kruskal.
A pleasure. I'm the chief science officer of the Iskandar.
Pleasure to meet you. The Lieutenant Commander Talandra said I should talk to you about what's happened to the ship.
Yes, you are in a pocket of anomalous space, which seems to be radically diluting the flow of time within it, so that there is a
sea.
There is something. It's 3 hours for every one, is it? Or
So 3 hours for everyone is what you've managed to bring it down to with the warp field of the Iskandar. What they've been experiencing up until now is it's more like a ratio of 1 second is 1800. So 2 seconds was an hour, 1 second half an hour.
yes.
How you want to be
As it stood, when we arrived at the periphery of the anomaly, for every second that passed outside of your space, was it 8 hours, 1 hour?
1 second inside, half an hour outside.
Half an hour from our perspective. As it stands currently,
yes, that makes sense with what Commander said.
Yes, we're currently tethered, as it were, via our warp fields to. Well, we are not, but it's currently more like 1 second for the Iskandar. It's 3 seconds for us at this moment in time. So the longer we are here,
one second. Yeah, but it's 1 second for the Iskandar. 3 hours outside the bubble.
Yes, that he relays it. He's smart. He gets it. So the longer that we are here, the more time passes for us. But you have lost more time, so I will not dwell too much on that fact.
Yes, of course. Do you know anything about what's caused this anomaly? All we have is that it's some very basic scans of the space that we've found ourselves in, but this area of space that we're in wasn't like this when we first got here.
Any black holes at all?
No, it was just ordinary space, and then the other ship that looked like yours, same class, different name, but it came through and then disappeared again, and well, here we are, I guess.
A couple of interesting points on that is that the anomaly that we found, there were dozens, if not hundreds, of microscopic black holes. Too small to really do much damage, but certainly enough to It was odd that they were sustaining. At their mass, they should have easily disseparated from
yes,
being.
that I see.
Do you know the name of the ship that came through?
Didn't get a good look at it, really. But appeared and disappeared quite quickly. But I think it was something like Amundsen or something like that. Yes.
Interesting. We shall once
Yes.
we're at
Slightly different insignia to the ship that you've come in, the Iskandar, which we were surprised by when we saw the Iskandar. I struggle to explain exactly what the insignia were on the outside of the Amundsen, but we only saw it quite briefly.
That's okay. When we get back to the Iskandar, I'll be able to put you on a holodeck and you'll be able to just explain it and the computer will just image it for us.
Of course, yes. Holodeck?
It's sort of like a how do you explain a holodeck? Holographic images given hard light texture processed into rendering exactly what you describe and ask for, used for recreational exercise and training purposes.
Fascinating. Surely that would require a huge amount of power to keep that running. You're able to sustain it on a starship?
Oh yes, often multiple holodecks.
Multiple.
Yes, I think we've got
that is interesting.
How many does a Intrepid class have? Because it's 2. We have 2 aboard the. I was about to say the Voyager. Whoops, aboard the Iskandar.
I see. I guess I have a lot of catching up to be doing.
I imagine so, but I imagine also it must be quite exciting to suddenly enter a new and far advanced realms of engineering and the possibilities thereof.
Oh, yes. It is exciting, but it's still a bit of a shock. I guess it's just 80 years is a long time.
It is. I'm sorry. I cannot begin to imagine how that must feel.
Nor me yet. It's not quite sunk in. I guess. I just.
Well, I'm sure for the time being, I can help get you up to speed with the sort of sciences that we are working with in my time, and help you get an understanding of the
of what? What is whoop?
I'll get you an understanding of science and what kind of parameters you'll be working with. I'll also make sure that we've compared as many notes as possible as to what happened from your perspective and ours, and that should hopefully give us enough to. Oh yes, we must also try and get this ship in some kind of condition where it's. No, we might be transporting. We'll work on it. Let's join forces on this regard.
Yes, of course, yes. Let's combine our efforts and figure out how to solve this problem.
Yes.
Kind of. You can see that he's kind of visibly trying to. Oh, butts. He's not trying to wear butts. He's trying to visibly pull himself together. I don't know how interested you are in his emotions, if you're going, or if you're just going full. I'm a science boy. Yeah.
He will try. He's trying to be better with people. He will try to emotions.
Okay, if you're gonna try to emotions, I'm gonna make you roll empathy.
God, we need better peopling characters.
Oh.
You brought decent peopling characters. Vance is reasonably people, isn't he?
I rolled a 6 and a 6, giving
Okay,
me
so that's a 0.
1.
Hey,
No, he has an
positive.
empathy score.
Yeah. That's
He
cool.
learned.
He's got an empathy score. He's learned a thing. Yeah, like, this isn't even that difficult to spot, really. You can see his eyes are a bit bloodshot. No, on a 1 you wouldn't pick that up, but Ensign Kareen is not the kind of boy who's trying to shut his emotions down and hide things. He's very clearly trying to focus on, here is a task at hand, here is something I can do about this situation. But he's probably been crying on the way down.
Okay, well,
it is.
I don't want to touch that, so I can give him tasks to do.
Fuck's sake, Michael! Timing!
Emotions sound dangerous, but science is fun. So why don't we science?
Let's science. I don't know if now we want what to do about the Izzy sitch.
We haven't had an update from her with the second crash. So.
Yeah, might wait and see if we get an update on the second crash and see how to proceed from
Meanwhile,
there.
on the Iskandar, Athan.
Oh yeah, meanwhile, on the Iskandar, let's have a scene there while we wait.
I was going to make a joke that Athan's playing Quasi Cupcakes on her pad.
Hey, no, there's Athan, there's Kantos, there's Tarek. There are people here that you could have a quick scene with whilst you're waiting. Even though there's not much for you to be doing.
What's going on with the sensors? Fuck all.
Not a lot's changed. I'm trying to remember what Talandra actually passed along by way of information to you.
Just that she's made contact and that we're gonna start to work together, etc.
Yeah, you don't know anything about this second probe yet.
Nope.
Cool.
Of the timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey bullshit. And I'm not even a Who
I'm
fan.
not saying
This
anything about the
applies
bullshit.
very well as a term.
It is very wibbly-wobbly bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Was it us? Did we cause the accident? Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Who even fucking knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully you lot will. Eventually.
Apologies,
Ooh.
folks.
One thing I could do is from that name that we were given of what they thought the ship might have been. Called.
Oh yeah, no, you can probably
get in touch with the Iskandar.
Oh yeah, no, you can get in touch with the Iskandar and talk it through that way. Go for it.
What's my name? KC to Iskandar.
I mean, you need to decide which.
I was going to say Tarek. I've never played Tarek.
You're not Tarek.
I'm not Tarek. I'm never ever going to play Tarek.
Tarek didn't exist the last time you GM. At least ship wide anyway. Athan here.
That's a lie. I did play Tarek in the
for the one shot. Yeah. That's what I mended halfway through.
I'm looking for records on a ship similar to ours, perhaps a few generations previous. The Emerson, was it?
Amundsen.
The Amundsen. Let's check in the databanks.
I found that's a name you've heard very recently.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your conversation with Admiral Lukashenko, she mentioned there's another ship in the air that's probably slightly closer to this area of space than the Iskander was, but with less experience of this kind of anomaly.
It was the Amundsen.
It's your present day ship. It's also an Intrepid class. It's in many ways very similar to the Iskander.
It's another Intrepid class on survey mission in this sector. Why?
Fascinating. I'm currently working with their chief engineer to try and ascertain some idea of the parameters that we can work under. And there's been mentioned that we are not the first vessel that they've come across, and the Amundsen came across them very, very briefly. But there is something different about it, a change in its insignia. He will look to...
As I say, I struggle without getting a good look at the outside of the Iskandar and going back through what records we have left, but certainly there's something a bit different about the Amundsen compared with the Iskandar, and not just the name.
The Iskandar and the Amundsen should be practically identical. I believe the Amundsen may possibly have the last generation of still be operating under the Type 9s to the Type 10 phaser banks, but I wouldn't anticipate that would actually be anything visible on at a glance. If it's possible for you to produce any imagery for us, then we can check our records on this.
I'll see what I can come up with regarding that.
Any authority you have to send us any of your sensor records will be something that we can probably analyze from here with our computers intact, and we may be able to better take a retrospective look at what happened to you.
To see what we can pull together, Captain Athan.
Thank you, Ensign.
Thank you. And yeah, I imagine
curious.
How do you mean?
That's not a. Well, it is a ship you recognise, but it sounds like it shouldn't look any different.
Oh no, it's very interesting. I'd assumed that when you meant that when you mentioned different insignia and a different look about it, that perhaps it was a generation difference, and perhaps another ship similar to ours had been through the area maybe 30, 40 years ago. But it turns out that it is a recent ship, but perhaps with some amendments that wouldn't necessarily be on file, which is very curious.
Perhaps, yes, it's interesting, and yes, I'd be interested to see how this other ship, or whether it's just coincidence that this other ship disappeared, and then the explosion happened.
Very interesting.
Yes. Have we heard any updates from Izzy?
Nope.
No.
Not shit.
Ruh-roh.
That's a good sad trombone moment.
It's not quite deserving of the full hand gestures, I'm afraid, for sad trombone, so I'm not going to do the mute and everything. So
that is absolutely fair.
Okay, now I'm like, have they been hit by the mirror universe USS Amundsen?
Ooh, that's a good theory.
That's my working theory.
I like it.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah. Send me the goddamn data banks.
We could go on to a second break, or something.
We could go
Yeah,
to a second break.
well
Actually,
yeah,
we might as well do a second break while we're here, and then
Cool.
if we need to come back and say actually we'll be back next week, then we will. But maybe we'll be back and there'll be yet more episode. tune in about 20 minutes or so. Or who knows? Tune in about 30 years, I think is about
Or in
right.
10 seconds.
Who even knows?
One way or another, we will be back soon. Bye.
Farewell.
We're live.
Welcome back. We've got an Izzy. Let's take advantage of us having an Izzy. So we pick up in the shuttle bay still with Ensign Kareen chattering away about science nonsense to Casey, and Ensign Kareen being sad about things, and Casey noticing but not doing a whole lot about this sad boy in front of him. But this sad boy isn't my boyfriend. What do I do?
I haven't been trained on this. I'm sorry. Here's some maths.
So, also in this shuttle we have Zal and Burov. Burov, you've got an awkward, sad science boy in front of you, and it's not Casey.
You're muted.
You're muted, Izzy.
That I can fix. What's Zal's response to this? Is it just to sort of let them get on? Is he looming? Is he's back to standing near the door?
He's still looming. He's kind of watching. There's a bit of a smirk on his face, like not at this poor ensign's misfortune at all of his friends and family being dead, but more at kind of like looking at the dynamic between Casey and the other one, unnamed Ensign B. Then
Kareen.
He's got a name, damn it. He even introduced himself.
Basically, like very gently, Burrow's going to appear at Zal's elbow and just go, "Oh, there's two of them."
There are. It's probably insufferable if you're too close.
Oh, I think it's sweet.
It is very much like there's two cases.
What if this ship has all of our doppelgangers? I would very much like to meet Barakdi Burov. Maybe I'm a little taller.
Maybe you're as tall as me.
Then there must be a little carousel to make up for it.
Maybe a
Small
tiny
but
Andorian.
mighty. A tiny Andorian who's feisty but willful.
Oh, so the opposite of me.
Who hates opera.
Mm-hmm.
Can't stand it.
Can't
Big
stand
fan of dubstep.
I feel like this is a good point for... I can't remember who was being sent down. It was security, Ensign Kareen, and was either Vance or Talandra going down back to the shuttle bay as well.
I think they were both going down to begin to disperse Iskandarites throughout the ship.
Cool. So I feel like this is a good point. Whilst Zal and Burrow are having this discussion, I want to meet my doppelganger. For Talandra and Vance to come back to disperse them to maybe meet their doppelganger.
Arcady will lean against the door and go,
No, I don't think I'd be a tall Vulcan. Maybe I should get a fringe.
Commander, Lieutenant.
"We have been given permission to disperse throughout the vessel. Ensign Kingston and your team, there are many damaged parts of the ship which I believe could do with your support, and we must attend sick bay, doctor."
I guess we need to figure out ultimately if we can tow this thing or if we are going to have to transport the crew off it. So.
Right, so Lieutenant Vance, if you could remain with
the science team and a small detachment of engineers to ensure that communication is maintained with the Iskandar.
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant Zal with me. It is my intention, Lieutenant Zal, to speak to the longer-lived officers of the ship. I believe that given the shock that will be a potential shift in time from 2 weeks to 80 years, those of us that live a little longer might be better suited to the task.
I see the thinking in it.
So yes, we shall be at sick bay if you need to communicate with us.
Yes, Commander.
We leave.
You disperse. Zal, are you going with Vance and the science and engineering squad? What are you doing on this?
I'm with Talandra on team talk to people
On
that
team
live
talk
more
to
than
people that
70
live
years.
that live more than 70 years. Okay.
I've been playing a lot of Vermintide, so I'm not going to make any horrible mayfly references.
Right. So you two, well, you three, because Burov as well, are going to sick bay. The rest of you are heading presumably to what's left
Vance,
of engineering.
Casey, and the engineer
Vance,
blob.
Casey, Kareen, and the engineering blob.
Because step one will be trying to tow the ship, because that's the easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move on from that, if that's not possible.
Excellent. You'll each be accompanied. It's now more accompanied than escorted at this point. Commander Graham's going to talk to the security officers and explain, no, this is different to the ship that attacked us. We're not quite sure how, but the slot are here to help. And Commander Graham's going to go with Vance and Team Science, along with miscellaneous, not red shirt, because they're all wearing red shirts, but you know what I mean. And a couple of also unnamed security officers are going to go with Lieutenant Zal, Commander Talandra, and Dr. Burov. So we will start with... which party do I want to start with? Kath, call odds or evens?
Evens.
Evens, we're going to start with the science party. It doesn't make much of a difference which one we start.
Not that I wasn't science party, I got excited. If my internet dies, though, do carry on without me. Like, go and do
actually,
the stuff.
do you want to take advantage of having your internet?
Do
No,
as you will.
take advantage of having your internet. That's a better idea. We're going to go to sickbay first, where both of your characters are.
Behave yourself.
So, you proceed to sickbay. The security officers who are with you not escort, but show you the way to the sickbay.
We can hear escort as walk with us to make you lost, not like looming.
It's not escort with weapons. It's show you.
Plus, it's Talandra and Zal. Good luck.
We'll fucking eat you.
They can hope. All right.
They up at the start of this episode that we are both the tastiest in a fight.
They don't know how many ensigns Zal can bench press. They can probably.
We're of the files.
When you say the files, is that just Zal picking up Burov to demonstrate?
Burov has a filing cabinet, and Zal picks up Burov.
Everyone can bench press Burov. It's not impressive.
That's true. You go to sickbay. Inside, it is busy in there. It's not. It doesn't look too much like it's at battle stations or emergency situation, but there's clearly a long list of people who are coming to sickbay to have their injuries seen to. There are a couple of medical officers scattered about the place, tending to people's injuries, and directing them is Dr. Sitak. He is a Vulcan. He's a bit shorter than Talandra, not by much. He's not, the Burub of the Vulcan world. He's still, quite tall, slimly built, and he's directing people around his sickbay. Let's come up with a quick name. Ensign Jones, when you're finished finished with your current patient. The engineer in the second bed on the left requires his leg being seen to. Can I help you, Free?
Forgive the intrusion, Doctor.
She will glance at her security escort to see if they've sent any word ahead that they're coming, or if this is just a, hi, we're from the future. I've brought you this doctor.
If they sent word ahead, Dr. Zetak was probably too busy to pick up, so they just kind of...
I am Lieutenant Commander Talandra of the USS Iskandar. We are guests aboard your ship.
Iskandar? That's a name I've heard before, but your presence here and the lack of an armed escort suggests you're not the ship we might have assumed you were.
I believe we both are and aren't the ship you assume we are. You are in a sort of
Interesting.
A time discrepancy. We believe there has been a terrible accident, but we can speak more about that later. This is our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Arkady Burov. They have come to offer any assistance that you might be required, and I would like a few minutes of your time and any other longer-lived members of your staff, Vulcan, Andorian, Joined Trill.
Of course, we have no Joined Trill members of staff, but we do have an Andorian on our staff, one of the engineering officers, Lieutenant Shterov.
Excellent. Then, if the presence of my own Chief Medical Officer will compensate for your time, that will be most welcome.
Your presence, Doctor, is very much appreciated. Thank you. I think the best place for you to start will be and he'll direct Burov to where some of the more injured patients are. He looks them up and down and goes, Chief Medical Officer, I can trust them with something complicated, and he'll gesture for a corner of the sickbay for you to go to.
Should have brought Dr. Light with me.
Your own assistance will be quite enough by itself to assist with our efforts here, Doctor.
Doctor. Now be gentle with our officers. They've been through a lot.
And
Medicine.
Dr. Burov can scurry off and get, in some cases, fairly literally up to their elbows in medicine.
Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. What a waste of the medicine.
What did you do? Why did you put your elbows in the medicine?
I wanted to see what the temperature was.
Yes, you, as you're kind of walking around the sick bay, the place has clearly been kind of in almost continuous use. A lot of the staff look very tired. Like they've been working very long hours, pulling extra shifts because there has been a lot for them to deal with.
I imagine Arcady's going to be kind of a energetic, either a breath of fresh air or an irritant, because they kind of don't stop until they stop.
Mm-hmm. The nearest medical officer will probably initially think of you as an irritant until you've demonstrated your obvious competence, at which point they'll then be like, a proper doctor. And then suddenly you're being treated like you're a breath of fresh air and extremely welcome in this sick bay.
Victory!
Dr. Burov here to save the day.
Yes!
But yeah, you can tell that everybody has been working practically around the clock and everybody is just exhausted, patients and staff alike.
So there's an amount of, okay, I'll do that. You go roll bandages. Okay, you need a cup of tea. You need like a cup of tea and I'll lie down. No, I'm not hearing it. I can do it. I can do both. I'm a doctor. You have to listen to what I say. I don't care if you're a doctor too.
They're very enthusiastic. I appreciate that in my medical officers.
Dr. Borov's talent and enthusiasm are equally matched.
I'm glad to hear it. Shall we go to my office?
Please. And Talandra kind of, I think, visibly, like, she doesn't relax because she doesn't ever relax, but I think Zal, who knows her quite well, will see that she visibly just kind of takes a breath because she's like, I'm talking to a Vulcan. They are going to understand, and if they're not going to understand, I can make them understand with logic and it'll be okay. It's all okay. Zal, there's a Vulcan here.
Look, I found one!
Look,
At last.
hello, yeah.
Hello.
The show brought in another Vulcan.
Talandra will settle down and say, I will be brief. I have been told that I have been somewhat blunt with your captain on this matter. You believe that you have
Captain
been
Young has
stranded.
had a rather stressful 2 weeks. Since we
Captain
found
Young has
ourselves in
had
the
a
current
particularly
situation.
stressful 80 years, Doctor. The
80 years.
the bubble of time that you find yourself in is in fact some sort of loop or temporal distortion, and it has knocked your obscenity out of line with the rest of the galaxies for the past 80 years. My ship has come across this bubble in time, and we have arrived to extract you from it. But since this ship went missing, 80 years have passed.
Fascinating. There had been some suspicion amongst the science officers that we would be a little bit out, as they had observed gravitational phenomena, but we had not expected that kind of scale. Perhaps on the order of a week lost, rather than decades. Oh no. Oh no, what a time for that to go.
That's rough. That's rough. No,
Oh, no,
you're
they're
back.
back.
You're back.
She's back, she's back!
Motherfucker.
Okay, at what point did you
There have
cut
been
out,
some
Roma?
sort of concerns or some sort of suspicions.
Yes, the science officers had assumed that there might perhaps be a little bit of time lost, as they had observed gravitational distortions, but they had anticipated perhaps a week lost, not quite on the order of decades. That's interesting.
I am afraid that for many of the members of the Iskandar, this ship went missing before they were born.
And Sitak is going to, will have a quick glance over at Zal.
Also, I guess in his heart, that puts a new perspective on Dr. Burov, who is just the
Just
weird
a wee thing!
which
That
is
does
why,
include me. I'm in my late 30s.
which is why
I didn't want to assume.
I believe that given that our intention is to bring you back in line with the temporal obscenity of the rest of the galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
those that will be the least affected will be those of us that our bodies naturally live longer than that of humans.
Yes. The prospect of losing, as it were, 8 decades will be less troubling to some members of the crew than to others, myself included in the former categories. Yes.
I believe there will also be a sincere quantity of emotional trauma when many members of the crew learn of the history that they have missed.
Quite likely.
We recently stepped from the shadow of a particularly traumatic war. I believe the largest in the Federation's history.
Fascinating.
Fascinating and terrible in equal
Of
measure.
course.
I imagine many of them will have lost not just descendants, but homes, planets.
That is something that will need to be taken account of then.
I believe that as the chief medical officer, that would fall neatly into your purview, and as a Vulcan, I am somewhat relieved that this task has fallen to you.
Thank you, Commander. And yes, you are quite right that the dealing with the emotional stresses of the crew does fall rather under my purview, as it does some of the other members of staff when a Vulcan touch is perhaps not the best when people are being irrational. But I feel in this case, a logical and reasoned approach will suit the majority, if not all, of the crew.
Being first officer has also given me a touch for knowing when one requires the logical assistance of a Vulcan and when one wishes to be emotional in a vacuum.
Then you understand perfectly where I'm coming from.
Quite. In the meantime, I have left your chief of science with hours in order to discuss the technical side of merging the two ships back together, although I believe, given the circumstances, it is better if Dr. Borov is under your charge rather than vice versa. You know the nature of your crew much better, and they are happy to assist and have some excellent thoughts on the matter. But scientifically speaking, this will fall to Ensigns Casey and Kareem.
Of course. Ensign Casey is presumably your chief science officer.
Yes.
Yes. And yes, I am quite happy to have Dr. Borov working under me in the sick bay, though were we on the Iskandar sick bay, I would assume that command, as it were, would go the other way, since we would then be in Dr. Borov's sick bay and in their territory.
Of course. The distinct technological advancement would also fall under their control. But
yes, quite. I would be very curious to see what technological advancement there has been over such a period of time.
Given the very nature of war, much development was necessitated by a desire to not be wiped out.
Quite. It does seem that wars do encourage technological advancement.
It is a horrifying side effect that many members of the Federation unfortunately suffer under.
Indeed. A pity that they cannot find a less destructive way of advancing their technology, but nevertheless.
Talandra's eyes will glance very quickly to Zal and back again, as if thinking, "Oh, we shouldn't subtweet the Andorians. They're right here." Oh, it's such a shame.
There's probably a little bit of side eye from Sitak to Zal as well. Not in a dismissive way, just the kind of, yeah, I know we're talking about you.
Nevertheless, we are made better for our counterparts.
We are, yes, and I'm sure that I and the rest of the crew will be quite grateful to take advantage of the advancements that the last 8 decades have yielded.
And given that there are no others of our kind aboard this vessel, once we return to the Iskandar, I'll be happy to talk to you more about how Vulcan has adapted.
Quite. I would be quite interested to hear how things have developed at home.
Now, I believe there was talk of the rest of the long-lived crew that we could speak with.
Yes.
Should we wait here to be out of the way of your sick bay?
I think perhaps certainly in the case of Commander Shterov, it's perhaps better to go and find them. They will likely be busy somewhere, but...
As you wish, Doctor.
And he will take out a communicator to try and find where Commander Shterov is. The conversation's pretty brief. There's I'm on deck 12. Bulkhead 27. They're quite brusque.
An Andorian being brusque.
Yeah, and the Andorans, they're quite brusque and quite, they're not rude, it's just a kind of, I'm busy, what you want sort of tone. So, very well, we will come to you, Commander. Yep, suits me.
Walking along as I imagine we do,
Mm-hmm.
Talandra's going to look at Zal. And again, micro expressions. Just Zal knows that she's being thoughtful rather than hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
Zal, would you care to talk to this individual? I have never had the greatest luck relating to your people. The last time I spoke with an Andorian that wasn't you, there was a great deal of arguing, if you'll recall.
Yes. Same. But I will handle this. Feel free to step in as my commanding officer if I seem out of line, but I don't imagine this will be a problem.
Of course. You've seen how I have managed speaking to my own countrymen.
Yes.
But please do not fight this one.
I can't promise that.
I
would
would
perhaps prefer it if you didn't, Lieutenant. The sick bay is quite busy as it is without adding either yourself or Commander Shterov to my long list of patients.
Yes, quite right, Doctor. Lieutenant Zal, should you force yourself to become a victim of some terrible violence, I shall be ensuring that you do not burden the sick bay and instead tend to your own wounds in the hall.
Understood. This seems to placate him.
There's the classic Vulcan eyebrow quirk from Dr. Sitag as he and Talandra share a look of...
They share that absolute...
They share the eyebrow quirk.
Which is what is happening. We are friends. You're friends with this non-Vulcan. I know, quite illogical. It's sweet, though. Yes.
Other races that are less logical than us.
I too have a less logical...
What can you do, eh?
You should see me in the Chief of Astrometrics.
You should see me in the small science boy I've adopted.
Completely irrational.
Completely irrational. Humans, Andorians. What can you do?
Anyway.
We will cut to the other party, Team Science Folk.
And me.
And you. And Dad and Commander Graham, who I guess is also part of this weird family now with Vance's dad.
It's got real weird.
It's got real weird real quick. So what
are they doing?
What are you doing about the ship?
Is it repairable?
Yeah, so are you going to look at science stuff first, or engineering, establishing the structural integrity of the ship first? Structural integrity of the ship first. Cool. So yeah, you lot can kind of make your way throughout the ship, and Commander Graham will suggest that you find Commander Shterov, who is now acting chief engineer of the Kruskal. And a very similar conversation happens between Commander Graham and Commander Shterov. Although it's clear that there's the tone is a bit more bantery between them, but that's to be expected when
one of them isn't a Vulcan.
Exactly. So you make your way along to Deck 12 and the bulkhead that Commander Shterov is half sticking out of. Commander Graham will lean over and go, Shterov, what? What do you want, Eve? These fine folk are from the Iskandar. Not that Shterov kind of looks like they're about to immediately try and fight you all. Not that Iskander. It's fine. It's complicated. Right. These 3 are engineers. This is their science officer. The plan, well, why don't you explain what your plan is? Yeah, what is going on?
The ship. Your ship's dead in the water. We need to make it move. Will attract the... Is it possible for you to repair it to the point where a tractor beam ain't just going to rip you in two?
A tractor beam ain't just going to rip us in two, huh? I'll admit, it's not an assessment I've looked at. We've mostly been looking at holding the thing together.
Or if, everyone shifts to the secondary hull and secure it, and then we only haul the secondary hull, accepting the saucer section might break. I don't know. You're the chief engineer.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah, we needed deflector systems on board to make
how
it
rough
back.
Is working?
You'll probably need deflector systems, or to be small enough to be brought again. We could possibly expand our deflector shields if we had. It's probably not going to be able to be the full ship.
Deflector shields, eh?
You're about half the size of the Iskandar, so.
Okay. You could expand yours around ours, but that's stretching it.
She
kind of sucks her teeth in that way that a mechanic does when you say my car is broken, and they go, "That's going to cost you."
We are talking about a somewhat more sophisticated deflector system and power array, but yeah, not. I wouldn't want to stretch it too far.
More sophisticated, eh?
Yeah.
And Commander Starrett will look at the science boy and the engineers more than at Vance at this point, because she's clearly recognised that Vance is not the brains of this operation. Okay. Probably still have to have a look at our own deflector shields and see if they're up to snuff, and see if they can fix this thing. See if we can get them fixed up to the point. Do you have any records of how rough this ride was?
Grab the sensor
how
telemetry.
Much? Yeah, some telemetry would be useful so that we actually know how much we're working with here, what kind of factors of safety we're trying to. Well, not even what factors of safety we're working to. We can work it to Unity, and it doesn't matter. It's only got to work once. But it's still got to work once. So it's got to at least meet that requirement, whatever it may be.
If we can share a certain amount of our deflect power across the two ships.
Maybe.
It gave ours a hammering, but also this time we know now what to anticipate, so we can prepare the Iskandar for the return journey, cut off all non-essential systems, make sure that we're putting maximum power to the deflector shields. Don't look at me like that, Ensign. Casey, the deflector system is essentially the one bit of the ship I have to make sure is always pumping into power.
Okay, so Ensign Casey, was it? Right. Have you got? I'm going to need you to get me some numbers so I know how fixed I need my ship to be. Have you met our science officer yet? Kareen? He's probably gone enough to go and fetch organise the science team, since you've gone off to engineering first.
I have been muted for a lot of the audience. I was muted on one channel and the other, so they didn't hear a lot of my end of the conversation. But I assure you,
unfortunately, that wasn't much.
That wasn't much.
Casey's just been like, "Yes, I'll bring you numbers."
Good. Yeah, work with Anwar on that.
Of course.
You three, you're all engineers, and she'll be gesturing at the 3 engineering NPCs who'll all just sort of nod. Right. If all 4 of you come with me, and we'll get... yeah, you as well.
Okay.
We'll go have a look, and from what you know, get a ballpark estimate, because a ballpark estimate is all we need. If it ain't gonna fly, it ain't gonna fly. Whereas if it's marginal, then we can start looking at actual numbers and doing this in more detail.
That's true and
But-
expedient, yes.
So, problem's going to be with the weakest link. Let's go have a look at that. This way.
Have fun.
Oh, I shall.
Vance is now left with Commander Graham.
Yeah. Commander, this other ship, the one you thought was us.
Yeah, well, there was the one that looked like you but wasn't you, and then there's the call we got from the Iskandar
Yeah, that did sound like it.
and the probe.
Without going over it again, I don't know what. We did try to communicate with you when we first received your distress call, so maybe it was that. I don't know how that's going to affect with the time issues. But this other ship, have you got any sensor records on it? Or even just your own recollection?
From my own recollection, it was very similar in shape and appearance to yours. Something a little different in how it looked. Insignia and the like were a little different. Obviously, the name was different. It wasn't called the Iskandar. It was called the Amundsen, I believe.
Anything you can show me?
Yes, if we go and have a look at sensor readings and sensor outputs that we've got recorded tactical, then we can have a look at
figure
that.
out what went on, especially if we can identify some sort of timeline in real space.
Yes, of course. Does the name Amundsen mean anything to you as a ship?
There is an Amundsen in the fleet.
Make me a lore roll. I'm not going to force you to make up what that
What is my lore? Not great.
I don't know if you even have any.
I do have 1 rank in lore.
What?
So that's a 3.
Yeah, you can remember what the Amundsen is.
Yeah, the Amundsen's another Intrepid class. She's, I think, out in this sector. But
Okay.
it's a bit odd if she came across you and that didn't hit, and we were the ones sent. We hadn't heard any reports about anything weird happening from the Amundsen, even though we were sent to take a look at this anomaly. Listen, I know this is going to be incredibly damn rough for you and everyone else coming back. I genuinely can't imagine being in your shoes. The thought of it from my perspective, it ain't worse than death, but there are just times where
not far off, I guess. I'm just 80 years is a long time,
Yeah. Earth is different. Things are going to be different.
There's going to be a lot of catching up to do, and a lot of stuff that's changed. A lot of people that we knew.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't have my wife's family tree memorized, so I can't tell you who you'd remember who's still around. It's 80 years. It's a long time.
You mentioned my nephew, James.
Yeah, he's old.
Still kicking around, though.
Yeah.
Wonder if he'll remember his Auntie Evie.
Well, my wife's name is Eve.
So really?
Yeah. Hadn't realized it was a family name.
God, I hope they didn't actually name her after me. That's depressing, that is.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you do not... it's not a family name. It's not like there's, the few Eve Grahams in the family tree. So that sounds like they're doing that as a memorial almost.
Sounds like a way of being just a little bit remembered. I imagine then my wife probably does have some idea more than I do of who you are and what you meant to the family and your place in all of that. I admit I don't know the extended family that well. There was a wedding and a couple of times before that, but we've only been married 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. So still got family.
Yeah, that's something to hold on to. I guess it's not going back to, to nobody.
Absolutely not. James is still out there.
He was 3. No, 4. It had just been his 4th birthday.
He's healthy as a horse, goes for long walks, has about something like 12 dogs now. Maybe not 12, but a lot of dogs.
He did love dogs, that kid.
Yeah.
He did love dogs.
Big old lodge.
Yeah, my brother, he had 3 when I last saw him.
That'll probably be it then.
Fuck. My brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the meantime, let's get to the bottom of this and find out what's going on with the Amundsen. And then afterwards, have some beers later, and you can just find out just how badly the Los Angeles Devils have been getting their asses kicked for the last 80 years.
Oh, no. That's the worst news you've given me there.
Yeah.
But yes, focus on getting out of here first. That's the priority, and then we can deal with all of this later. So they will continue down to up to. They will continue to
Wherever it is, you tell me.
we'll go to the bridge. So that's where a lot of the tactical information will be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you'll get onto the bridge. This is the first time we've seen the bridge this episode.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like the old original series Enterprise bridge. Again, everything about this ship is Constitution class and shrink it down.
I'm choosing to interpret it as a miniaturized version of the modern Star Trek Discovery's USS Enterprise sexy bridge set, but small.
Yep. Yeah, you probably couldn't quite fit quite as many people in here, but yeah, sexy bridge set.
This is I know this is normal for you. This is like practically walking around on a museum set for me.
I suppose it would be, yeah.
I mean that in the it's really cool way.
She's home. Well, she has been for a while anyway.
We'll do what we can to get her back.
Abel almost lovingly pat a console in a kind of poor old thing kind of way. See if we can get her out of here, I guess. But that's for the engineers to sort. So let's have a look through what we've got. And she'll start kind of going back through the records that they've got from the time of the accident. And she rewinds it to about 16, 17 days ago. Right. So we were in flight. Just cruising along, warp 3. And then some kind of disturbance. So we drop out of warp. Can't tell what the disturbance is yet. All we've got is probably shouldn't be flying a warp and should see what it is. You know the drill. And then this is what we find when we come out. And she'll show you on the display screen that she's using a kind of blurry image that shows, and she's kind of going through it kind of frame by, not quite frame by frame, but skipping ahead through almost like photographs. So let's right here. Weird points of light coming through. You can see this kind of, and she points to, there's this kind of circular area of space that's kind of lit up with this dim blue light that's kind of mostly in like a ring around the outside of it. Then we get this ship, and skips to the next blurry image, which does show what looks, and again, blurry image at this point, to all intents and purposes, like an Intrepid class. And she skips forward again, and the ship is gone in the next image, and that blue light has suddenly got intensely bright in the middle of the image. And then, well, next thing you know, warp core's exploding. We've had to jettison that. The other warp core's knackered. The impulse engines are buggered as well. And we're stuck stranded in this.
Take a look at that ship.
And she'll move it back to the previous image.
There's still not much deviation amongst ship designs in, within the same class in Starfleet. I'm not sure why she'd look different.
I mean, the shape of it's the same, but if we... This picture doesn't show it that clearly, but she'll zoom and enhance. On the ship, and where it says... It's got the name written on the side of it, and what you can see is the name of the ship, Amundsen. But the prefix in front of it isn't USS. It says this ship is called the ISS Amundsen.
Fucking called it!
And we will end the episode there on that zoomed and enhanced image.
Izzy's doing that muted swearing thing.
Yes!
Oh,
That's what I wanted!
Oh, solid.
When I say called it, that's not a smug, that's a, oh no!
Oh no! Oh no! What's happening?
You come here to my house with this bullshit. How dare you?
You do the thing we always wanted you to do.
Yep.
You do the thing that we accepted while with all their fucking talk of doppelgangers. Why is it my characters are always the ones that predict the
We sat there and had breakfast together like 2 years ago, and super excitedly we were like, oh, what if Emily did Mirrorverse? And you do it!
And you said this one's not the Mirrorverse unit episode.
That's the bit I'm least sorry for.
Except that it is.
No. Then we sit with Roomba, who's all excited, like, I'm going to run my first session. I'm a bit nervous about it, guys. I'm not going to jump into the Mirrorverse just yet. I'm just going to run a bit of a science game. Emily is an urchin now. It's the only
And what's more,
now.
she was like, oh, I guess, when you think about it, Down the Rabbit Hole does sound a little bit Mirrorversey. Oopsie doopsie, my be.
up there.
Hey, I didn't say oopsie doopsie might be. All I said was, that does sound a bit Mirrorversey, doesn't it?
But this is
and you lot all said, no, that's too obvious.
No, you listen when I'm
all
telling you
said, nah, Down the Rabbit Hole sounds too obvious to be a Mirrorverse episode.
twist reveal. Like, that's acceptable.
I learn from the best, Izzy. What can I say?
Unacceptable. We all looked at this thinking, Roomba's never GM'd Iskandar before. I wonder if she'll be like a Mike GM or like a Izzy GM or like a Kath. No, you're a Lucas GM. You are like him. That Satan man that lives in my house.
You flatter me, Izzy. You flatter me. So I couldn't live up to Luke's standards. I merely aspire to make you all scream at me the way that we all scream at him when he runs. But yes.
I can't believe you made us. I can't believe you asked us questions about our backstories like it matters.
Dare you?
It's a great aunt of Vance's wife. When was Zal born? Boopy doopy doo.
Bang! Mirrorverse.
We're fucked! We're fucked! We're truly fucked!
Angry. I'm so angry.
I just want to double check something. This is the USS Kruskal, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
I realized I
it
just wanted to be
100%.
crystal clear
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we've
that-
never said the word United Federation.
No, you haven't. But no, this, as you were coming up to it, you could clearly see it said USS.
Also,
on the
Talandra did say
outside.
Federation a whole bunch.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah, we've used the words Federation a lot.
That's good.
as
I
well.
just
Have
had
you-
this horrible moment. I want to double check.
Kath, is
No,
your
no,
favourite
it's cool.
part
Cool.
the fact that Emily Room took your voice and mangled it into what is definitely Mirrorverse-a-thon?
Because I was like, I don't know what that recording's of. There are bits which, yeah.
That's your voice, Kath.
Yes,
It's
it
your
is.
voice.
But I think you've spliced that together from multiple different
just
ones. Because I
assumed that
couldn't,
was a
I was
thing
sitting there
we had
going,
last week.
which transmission is this? I don't recall them all perfectly, but
It's like four
But-
different ones.
yeah, that makes sense now. That's
Like four
why I
different
couldn't.
episodes shoved together to make
That's
one
why I
translation.
couldn't place. I was like, was this the first hail? But this is going on a bit of a long time. Did they pick up my captain's log from the boy? That doesn't make sense on the time-wise, and that word didn't come up at the end of the cap.
I need my iron brew bottle full of gin.
I'm mad that one of those times where I saw a clue and didn't realize it was a clue, you know?
Izzy, we just got
I'm glad you all
raided.
enjoyed yourselves.
Who raided us?
Raven?
Good old Raven. Hello. I can't open the chat at the moment because of my shitty internet, so I muted and turned off everything. Well, I'm glad they didn't come in here while I was screaming and shouting and swearing about the Mirrorverse nonsense that we have been dropped in.
Wow, I'm sorry, strangers. You've just come in at us being real angry.
They just barged in being like, don't be a creeper. And we were like, fuck Emily forever, though.
Yeah, Emily's the creeper. How dare she? I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing, and I hate you, and it's amazing, and
I'm
so
glad
glad.
you liked it.
You know it's
You
good
had
when it's made
fun.
me go angry and
Oh,
forget
it
my
is.
words.
Feeding off your rage.
Ah!
question
This
is
the good
even-
shit.
Are we even going to have a jaunt, or is this just going to be there like a presence with Emily dropping this at our door to be revisited at a later time? Because I believe that you could do that, or you were completely lying about the duration of this mission.
Is Raven stream the Mirrorverse of the trash stream? And so
Yeah.
to
That makes
resemble...
sense. And,
Yeah.
and contains sensible human speech as opposed to this bunch of fucking goblins.
How dare you? I am a goblin of rage. I am a rage goblin, and you are my goblin kryptonite. Superman can be a goblin, Calf.
You say the sweetest things.
Oh, see, I was
Really
just
good.
trying to work on what kind of kryptonite that was, because I was like, does
If-
that make it red kryptonite, which
if-
makes
no,
you
if-
angry, or is it just like it
If
weakens
we
you?
were all goblin superheroes, Roomba would be goblin Superman, and
Then where does
Aw.
kryptonite? She's powered by this. We are right now her yellow suns.
You are?
nerd. I don't care about your nerd bullshit.
Go fucking read the communist Superman, Izzy.
I watched the movie because I'm lazy. And apparently it wasn't very good, so I did that to me. But
Izzy, very good held message in chat if you want to see it.
I can't see it, Michael. I can't access Twitch because my internet is bad.
You'll have to read it out.
Michael, you're so bad at this. We're on the internet, and I just want to see the facts that you're delivering to me while I'm yelling about the internet.
I'll let them through.
I'm so glad we managed to finish this. Also, I'd have felt real bad for you, Emily. Like, actually, no. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you forever, you gremlin.
Not too bad for me. I had to go through all this to get my internet sorted, and then get told, "Oh, here's the Mirrorverse. Come to climb up your ass and die." Great, superb.
I'm so glad your internet came back because this was the cliffhanger I wanted to end this episode.
Yeah.
Izzy of 20 minutes ago. Oh, just carry on without me, guys. It'll be
This is why I
fine."
wasn't gonna.
Oh, they're in the anomaly with us, aren't they?
Yes, of course they are. Or they're out there closing the anomaly and trapping us inside. And Mirror-a-thon's going to be a sexy fucking kung fu dominatrix.
That can't be Mirror-a-thon. That's Regular-a-thon.
We definitely did dominatrix at the same time.
Yeah, we both. Yeah.
One, that was weird. Two, you and I see a thought very differently.
She's already a dominatrix.
Me and Michael know what's up.
We know what's up. We know what slash fic we're writing.
This is under the.
Is it weird to share a thon with Mirror-a-thon? Because I do it already.
Because we've got a shared document and we're starting it.
She's like a more tasteful version of Intendant Kira. I mean, there's a lot of taste. There's a lot of taste to fit into
There'd
that.
be Mirrorverse Cardassians to be perfectly fine.
Gross. You're gross. What you said was gross. Take us to the Patreon list, you gross gremlin.
Jesus, we don't need Taladra to meet evil Gull Elrad right now.
What if we did?
I'm so conflicted.
What if we did?
No, you're not. You know exactly what you're feeling.
You know what you're
Good
about,
woman.
Izzy, and we know what you're about. However,
Dragged by my best friend.
I just want him to choke me. Do the Patreon.
However, yes, thank you all for watching the episode. I'm glad that chat seemed to have enjoyed this, bullshit
chat.
included.
On
So
behalf
I will
of
hand
me.
you over to Izzy
Dear chat,
to close
on behalf
off.
of me, I apologise that your names are now associated with the last 10 minutes of this stream. I would like to apologise to Emily Room for the last 10 minutes of this stream being associated with her episode. And I'd like to apologise to my parents who surely raised me better. I would especially like to apologise to this list of wonderful people who support the Yet You Trash crew, despite the fact that this is the sort of bullshit we do. So, trash bags at the ready, please, for Eligos Alexander, Liz Murphy, Michael Kreese, Caffeine Kitty, Andrei Cherepnin, Lucas Justinian, who is a villain and is downstairs somewhere,
It was an excellent inspiration.
the enigmatic Joe, Joanna Marsh, Diego de los Reyes, Lou Sutcliffe, Araloki, Socky, Red Fox, Henry Prestige, Michael Hilborn.
Sounds fake, but okay.
Hilborn, probably one of those spam accounts. Amy C, James Muffy Malloy, Mike Fielding, Michael Bowman, and of course, last but almost certainly not least, and it's only last because I leave it to last because I like to say it, Helena Handbasket. Thank you, Roomba. Quick state of the union for people who did not see our stream on Sunday. There is to be a new flagship trash game. As you know, the USS Iskandar was always very affectionately dubbed Praxis' redheaded stepchild, although over the past year, owing to tech troubles, something exploding in Texas, and the fact that Sunny Kitty produced a new human from her and her husband's DNA, which is just wild if you think about it. We have not been able to carry on with our usual stream of Dragon Age Under the Sapphire Sun. However, having had a false start where, unfortunately, Wizards of the Coast were a tremendous disappointment. So we elected not to run Dungeons and Dragons, which would have been great. But we didn't ruin it. Wizards of the Coast ruined it with their words. You can see more about that. I believe our statement is up on YouTube, the YouTubes. But watch this space because we have a lot of exciting news coming soon. Of course, Sable Whisper has been down in the plot mines and is mining away at little chunks of plot. I don't know, what do you mine when you're in the plot mines? Is it plot or are you the plot and you're mining for nuggets? Either way, nugs abound. And aside from that, it's Tuesday today. There's nothing. So the next time you see us will be next Tuesday for the new gripping adventure of Down the Rabbit Hole, as GM'd by Roomba, who is a villain and the worst, and we love her, and is fucking plot drama goblin. The goblin super. No, you're the Goblin Hulk. You're always a goblin. Secretly.
That's my secret. I'm always a goblin.
You're always a goblin. And Mike is the Goblin Iron Man because he's there with his technology going, I'm going to help you be a fucking goblin. And
stop it.
Kath is the Goblin Thor because she's got great hair and a winning smile and she's got nice shoulders and fundamentally looks good in a... Maybe I have a crush on Kath that I'm not addressing in this chat right now because I
feel like you're addressing it here.
I feel like it's very open.
Kath, you're a very attractive person and I don't tell you enough.
Thank you.
Anyway, go away, everyone. Leave me alone. Go home.